I adjusted the volume a little bit. Let me know if that's any better. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Well, if you can hear me okay, then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hey, everyone, it's the Historical Gamer. I don't live stream a lot, but I got a press copy of Hearts of Iron 4. Most of my videos tend to be videos on demand, so this may be a little bit rough, speaking off the cuff a little bit more than I usually do. But I wanted to go ahead and do a live stream of Hearts of Iron 4, so I figured why not give it a shot. So here we are, main menu screen, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and play a new game. We're going to start from the first start date. There are actually two start dates. You can start basically on the verge of World War II in August of 1939. Or you can do the Gathering Storm, which gives you a lot more options as far as developing your country, building up your military, and also gives you a lot more variability on what's going to happen. So, the earlier you start, the more perhaps ahistorical outcomes you may see, but I think it's a more fun game to play. So we're going to go ahead and play as the 1936 start date. There are 7 different nations you can choose from, as well as you can choose just a random country, a minor power, but there are 7 great powers that you can choose from to start. You can play as the French, as the Americans, the British, the Germans, the Italians, the Japanese, or the Russians. And I think in this game I'm going to go ahead and play as Benito Mussolini and play as Italy. They have a lot of interesting options, and they're not entirely tied down to a lot of the... they're certainly involved in historical events, but really there's, I would say, more freedom of action as Italy than as, say, Great Britain or the United States or France or, any of the Western powers, with the exception of... I guess we wouldn't really call the Soviet Union a Western power. Anyway, so we're playing as Benito Mussolini. Our ideology is a fascist government with a totalitarian regime. We never have to worry about elections, which is nice. And there you go. That's a ruling party. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. I think a lot of people are doing Italy. By the way, just to comment in the discussion, I think a lot more people are playing as Italy because it's also the tutorial country. So it's the country that everybody kind of starts off with in the tutorial, and then they'll kind of go from there. I am hardly a Hearts of Iron expert. I actually barely played Hearts of Iron 3. I want to say I put like 45 minutes into it on Steam, and I have Hearts of Iron 2 on a disc. I played that a little bit more, but I'm not exactly a ace when it comes to Paradox games, although I do enjoy them a lot. Played Crusader Kings quite a bit, not so much Europea Universalis. So I'm going to play on the regular difficulty. I'm not going to play as a veteran. And you can see here that's we're going to keep historical AI focus, and we're not going to play with Iron Man. Okay. All right, so here you go. We're starting off on January 1st of 1936. You can see Italy if we zoom out here by using the mouse. This lovely little country here, the peninsula. I actually have family. My dad's side of the family, half was from Ireland and half was from, I want to say, just north of Florence in this kind of region here. But anyway, you can see here we start off with some different divisions. You've got different icons that represent different kinds of divisions. As you zoom in or out, it sometimes consolidates items. So you can actually see if we click on a unit, it'll give us a breakdown. These guys are regular infantry. That's what that helmet symbolizes. Meanwhile, if we click on this unit, you can see here this is actually an Alp division or a mountain division. And then if we go over here a little bit, I think we've got cavalry. And then we've got some mechanized or armored units as well. So these are different divisions. They're made up of separate regiments. So you can see this one has 4 cavalry, 2 motorized, and 1 light tank within that unit. So that's one thing. Just keep in mind, all of these infantry units are made up of smaller sub-units, and you can actually modify the composition of your divisions when you create them, but that's probably something for a little bit later. I think the heart of the game is really going to be, well, it's obviously combat, but one of the most important things you need to do when you play a country is make sure that you've selected a national focus. It's kind of the tech tree, if you will, in this game. So if we actually take a look at the Italian focus tree, if you want to call it, it's really the tech tree. You've got some kind of logistical industrial options you can build out here on the left, with all different variables that, if you research this. So for example, Ethiopian war logistics. If we go ahead and we select it, it'll take 70 days. It'll add 2 infrastructure to Eritrea. I can't pronounce that. Add a 3 naval base to the province, and also add infrastructure to Somaliland, which is just south of Ethiopia. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Meanwhile, you can also develop different kind of army technologies or theory, basically. So all the way down from, the bomber effort, modernized army, modernized artillery, carrier effort, capital warships. So kind of go down either the carrier route or the battleship route. And then you've got other options too. So some of it's also diplomacy. We can see here there's an option for triumph in Africa. We need to own Ethiopia for that to be an option. But then it gives you options on making claims on Yugoslavia, befriending Yugoslavia, becoming friends with Romania, and then just different kind of objectives of go after France or go after the UK. So these are all different kind of, again, they're almost like tech trees, but they're not strictly technology. A lot of it is doctrine, but it's not really just doctrine either. It's, I guess, focus tree would be a good way to put it. Now, because we start off the game at war, we can see there's some icons on here I'll go over in a little bit, but you can see we're at war with Ethiopia here. The war between Ethiopia and Italy is actually already occurring by the time the game starts. So because we're already at war, and because I know those colonies of ours in Africa are severely underdeveloped, I am going to go with the Ethiopian war logistics, because we're not going to win in 70 days, and I think it's important to make sure that we can win as easily as possible when we do commit to the offensive. So again, as I zoom over here to Ethiopia, we can see this is the country we're fighting in Ethiopia, and you can see we've got forces south and north of the country. But again, both of these areas will benefit from increased infrastructure, and infrastructure is key to making sure your troops have good supply lines. In addition, it's also key to making sure that well, not just that, but the naval component, which is also part of that focus, is also important for supplies. So there's different sliders on here on the right. So for example, if I click on this one, it'll show us different supply routes, and you can see the fact that there will be a naval increase to this naval base will be useful because we have supplies coming in here. Right now, all of our troops are getting the maximum supply. But it looks like it's fairly close. Infrastructure is a 4 and a 3. So again, those influence how many troops you can station here, but everything's okay at the moment. Let's get back to, we've already looked at our focus. We can see here's Mussolini. We can make some changes to laws, government, add research focuses, add generals to the military staff, and those all have different perks. But right now we don't have enough focus or political power, so you gain 2 political or 1 political power per day. There are different modifiers. So by selecting a national focus, you lose 1 political power per day. But in the case of, or at least in the Ethiopian war logistics focus, but in the case of these other options down here, for pretty much all of these things, you need substantial diplomatic capital that's built up over time. So there's not much else to do on the screen at this time. As far as another key focus, I'm going to make sure we start researching right away. So different countries have different amounts of research slots they can start with. Italy has 4, and you can actually gain a new research slot as well by different national focuses. But right now we can see here there's sort of a timeline of technology to represent when different technologies were historically developed. You can research items in advance if you have the appropriate trees. So, for example, we've already done motorized. We could research mechanized 1, but you can see here the technology is 5 years ahead of its time. So we'd get a huge penalty on research time, and I don't think that's worth it. So what we're going to do first is we're going to research support weapons. That'll make our kind of ancillary or support units in our divisions more effective. So, for example, it'll make not just infantry more effective, but it'll make motorized infantry more effective, or other types of troops more effective. You can see here the support weapons are automatic weapons, submachine guns, and other types of things like that. So we'll go ahead and research that as 1. Now, there's quite a few different categories you can research here. There's support battalions, which are different types of add-on units that you can add to divisions. So anything from military police to maintenance companies, field hospitals, logistics, radio communications. You can also research armor. So you can go down a light tank path, a heavy tank path. If it's in green, it means you already have it researched. If it's kind of in gold, it means you could research it. And if it's silver, it means it's blocked off to you at this time. So you could see, there's some more advanced tanks, but they're all pretty far down the line, and we can't research any of those yet because we haven't gotten that far down the tree. In addition, you can research artillery, which has a lot of the same sorts of options. You can even get rocket artillery, which is kind of neat. It also includes anti-aircraft guns, which will certainly become key as we start fighting other countries with aircraft, but at the moment we don't have to worry about that. I'm actually going to go ahead and research interwar artillery because I want to make sure that we modernize our artillery. Right now we're still reliant on kind of World War I era artillery, so that's something we should improve. Artillery doesn't get enough credit for being very critical in World War II, and the Germans really cursed the Americans for having just basically mountains and mountains of shells to throw at people. Additionally, you can research a doctrine for your land combat, and that's important to do. There's 3 different tactics you can go down: mobile warfare, superior firepower, or grand battle plan, which is kind of more trench warfare. Right now, we start as Italy with trench warfare as where we're at, so that's understandable. Italy's experience in World War I was heavily influenced by trenches and absolutely abysmal casualties on those mountainous fronts, so they didn't really see the same sort of breakout in mobile combat that the Western Allies did on the Western Front. So they're definitely still thinking in entrenched sort of fortified lines. And actually the French probably, I assume, start out here too with their whole Maginot Line theory. Additionally, there are naval ships you can research. I'm not going to go through every one of these categories, but basically you can just research different types of warships. So, for example, the Regina Marietta class is a hypothetical class of battleship that would have been launched shortly before the war and would have been comparable to the Japanese Yamato class battleship. Wow, that's pretty awesome. You could even research aircraft carriers. So Italy historically didn't have aircraft carriers, but you could research that. And then there's naval doctrine as well, which again, I'm not going to bore you with all of that and go down all of those lines. So I think what I'm going to do, I think what's most important, we've already done 2 of our research tabs. We've done interwar artillery and we've done support weapons. I think I'm also going to go with some support battalions. I want to go back over here. So there's engineering as well, which influences things like factories. So I'm actually going to do electronic mechanical engineering because that'll give us more perks in terms of research. We'll research things faster. So it'll be kind of a snowball effect. If we research something that'll allow us to research faster, then we can research more things quickly. It seems like the most logical thing to invest in. And then we're also going to go to factories. So we're going to go to basic machine tools, which gives us a increased production efficiency cap. So I'll explain that a little bit more when it gets to building things, but basically you have different levels of efficiency for different countries, and you don't start out perfectly efficient. So, it might take 10 days to build something, but if you're less efficient, it could take you 15. So trade is something that we'll look at in a minute. Construction, right now we're not going to build anything new right now. You could build more factories. You can see here we start with 50, 20 civilian factories, 11 naval dockyards, which are shipyards, and then 19 military factories. Civilian factories, a certain percentage of them have to be used to create consumer goods to please your population. Military factories can be used to produce war goods, naval docks for shipyards, or for warships. Just jumping back here, we'll go back here. So if we want to go down the land doctrine route, just kind of the deep dive here, you can see there's quite a few different options, and there's also some mutually exclusive options. This was a request from the stream chat. So if we choose one or the other, we could go toward an infiltration or an assault option. I really don't want to get in too far into this, but basically this focus is much more on kind of a grand battle tactic, so maybe human waves or very orchestrated or planned attacks. Mobile warfare would focus more on just general mobility and flexibility. I would say probably the battle plan doctrine reminds me more of like the Soviet methodology of war, probably more along the assault line than the infiltration line. But anyway. I can see your comments. I can't physically hear them, but I can see them. I do have a second monitor up. So anyway, going to production, it looks like we've already got some things that are currently under production. So we're building some infantry weapons, support weapons, light tanks, motorized, close air support. Looks like we've got 2 battleships and a light cruiser under construction. And when you build things, so I guess we could go back to production, you can, when you build things, it uses up factories. So you can see here we've got 9 military factories in use, 6 naval dockyards. And what that really means is we have different items we can purchase. So for example, I could choose to build armored vehicles, and I could choose to build a tank, and then it'll slot up here. Or I could go to aircraft and choose to build fighters that I've researched. Or I could go to ships and build any of the ships that I've researched. And then what they'll do is they'll slide in this production column here. I'm sorry guys, I'm kind of jumping around and doing a poor job of explaining everything. It'll slide into this production column, and you'll produce a certain amount in a given time. So for example, with light tanks, those go to replenishing your armored divisions that are on the map when they lose tanks to combat or to just things breaking down. So you want to make sure that your total needs are fit for these kind of items. Same thing for aircraft. Different units have a certain needs. Battleships and naval ships are different, so you don't have a need per se. If I build this and it completes, it'll show up on the map. If I build these just kind of go into a pool that gets absorbed by these other units that are currently in the field. So if I recruit, for example, if I go here and I recruit an infantry division, that will require a certain number of infantry squads, a certain number of support items, equipment. You can see here 610 infantry equipment, 30 support equipment is needed for a infantry division. Or a mountain division, 850 infantry equipment, 30 support equipment, and 24 artillery. Or I think that's an armored or a mechanized, but then again, you get the gist here. So that's what production really comes down to. Again, ships are treated differently. But as far as what we need right now, basically I want to make sure that we get our infantry equipment needs met, because remember, we're at war with Ethiopia. So one other thing you can do is you can choose to produce something, but then you can also choose how many factories you're going to allocate to that. So right now we've got 4 you see here. If you click on one of these squares, or if you click on any of these squares, it will increase the number of factories, or if you click on a square that already has factories assigned to it, it'll decrease the number of factories producing that item down to the point where you click. So for example, right now we have 10 military factories available, so I'm actually going to go ahead and increase by 4 the number of factories producing this infantry equipment. Since we need more infantry equipment, we have 2,700 that are needed in the field. The rest of our needs are all met here. So in that case, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move down to the battleships. You can see here we have 6 in use, 5 dockyards available, so 6 of 11. So right now it's telling us it's going to take 18 years for these battleships to complete. That obviously isn't acceptable. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to increase each of these by 2 to bring it up to 3. And you can see here that cuts down on production time somewhat. There's another thing that's actually causing production to be slow, and that's resources, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So by changing that, I actually increased our naval dockyard usage by 4. That leaves us with 1 more. I'm going to go ahead and produce or add 1 more to this cruiser to speed up construction. So again, it's allocating resources to that item. I think we're going to need more support equipment as we get into this conflict here as well. So I'm going to increase the number of support equipment we're producing. So again, we're producing 1.9 per day. I think that's low because of trade, by the way, so I actually increase that one more. That leaves us with 3 factories remaining, 2 more to infantry equipment, and 1 more to light tanks. So now we're seeing some penalties on some of these items. Some of the items, for example, here we're seeing some penalties on, and what that has to do is trade. So if we go back up top here again, these are the 7 different icons that are kind of important. You've got a logistics icon that explains just the different needs of the different types of equipment you have in service. The recruit, which we already kind of briefly showed, we'll dive in more detail at a later time, that shows the different units you can recruit. Production, which shows the different physical equipment you're producing, and again up top here it tells us the demand that we have, but it also shows that we're short oil and we're short rubber, which is going to influence production, and you get penalties for that. We could produce factories, but we're not going to do that right now. And then we get to trade. So you can see here we need 22 oil per day in order to meet our production needs. Now the trade is only dealing with production of goods, so only dealing with the production of military units or hardware. But right now you can see here we need 22, and we don't have that right now. So what we can do, click on oil, and it will show you the producers from greatest to least in terms of the amount of oil that they're producing. But I don't really want to buy all of my oil from the United States because they're probably going to be upset with us at a later time. So what I may do, just for diplomatic reasons, is I may try and look at someone else. And try and pick someone that maybe we're more favorable with. So Romania, for example, is a country that I'm not as afraid of, worrying about whether they're happy with us or not. So we'll go ahead and we'll buy our oil from Romania. Then you can see here this will change once we unpause the game. In addition, rubber, we need rubber. We're short 3? Not as bad, but I think we're less likely to fight against the Netherlands. So again, I'll go ahead and allocate the purchases from the Netherlands. And then chromium, another rare earth metal, we'll go ahead and we'll get it from Turkey because I don't think Turkey's likely to fight us. Now, one other thing you will notice, when we do this, it'll tell us we're buying 8. So we're buying some surplus because you kind of buy in bulk. But then it's also telling us you lose factory production. So we were using, like 8 civilian factories. Now it says we have 13 in use. And when you purchase goods from a foreign country, they actually get your factory capacity that you allocate toward that trade. So that's something you want to keep in mind because you could make potential adversaries stronger by giving them more factory capacity. In addition, you need convoys to transport any of those trade goods. We have over 200, and we only need a few for the trade we just put up. I think it's like 8 resources per 1 convoy needed. So no worries there. We're getting an alert saying we have no divisions in basic training right now, so just for the heck of it, I think we'll go ahead and we'll raise 2 new infantry divisions. We could raise them with no location, or we could say, where do we want them to show up on the map? And I guess what I'll do is I'll probably just put them up here somewhere. It doesn't really matter where because I'm not going to be fighting any of these guys anytime soon. Okay, so we now have 2 infantry units training, but again, the way that things work, let's unpause for 1 day here. Okay, real quick. We just unpaused. You can see here it does, when you produce things, it does change your resource needs, although it looks like we're still fine. You could produce or recruit troops that require resources, and then you have to go back and adjust your trade. We have air wings with no missions. That's kind of what I'm going through these icons up at the top. And then we also have free civilian factories that aren't producing anything. So we could improve infrastructure, and that would cost resources. We could build air bases, anti-aircraft units, more factories and dockyards. I think I'll go ahead and I'll build a new factory. And one other thing you can also see here is when you choose to build factories, you actually have a maximum number of factories you can put in any one territory. So again, you can see these 2 territories are maxed out at 10 out of 10, while the rest of these all have spare capacity. So we'll go ahead and build one in southern Triol, and that uses all of our civilian factory capacity. So there you go. It tells you what it costs to build a factory, but it looks like it's just industrial capacity. So that'll use up all our civilian capacity. Meanwhile, the other thing we have here is we've got air units with no orders. I guess I'll just select them, and I'm actually going to send them to Somalia to help support the fight against the Ethiopians. So we're going to send reinforcements to Somalia because I'm not sure if what I have is sufficient, and I'd rather not stumble around and have an embarrassing defeat for the Italian military. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to strongly reinforce our Ethiopian troops, or troops in Ethiopia. Good Lord, I can't speak. It's like 2 a.m. right now. Why am I seeing this weird map? What did I do? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and send these guys here. I've got to send them to a naval base. Oh, whoops. Oh, they're not in a base with a naval base. Okay. So one other thing, when you move troops by sea, they need to be in a province that has a naval base. So you can see here, there's a naval base right in the same hex that I've got these 3 armored units. And it's a naval base that has it's pretty good infrastructure. So you can see those 3 armored units are in a base with naval capacity. So then we can go ahead and we can move them to another base with naval capacity. You could move to a hex that has no port, but then you'd kind of have to do it as an amphibious assault and you'd lose a lot of efficiency. So I don't really feel like doing that. Meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and move these guys, these 4 divisions, to a province that has a naval base, and then we can send them to Somalia as well. Yeah, I'll probably go after Yugoslavia eventually, but not right away. We've already got a war going with Ethiopia. 1 war at a time is enough, especially in the 1930s. So you can see here some of what we changed our production to means that we are... Oh, no, that's not it. So also you have trade influence. So based on... I'm not really sure what the influence is made up of, but you have different levels of influence over different countries' trade. So if they have to choose between you and someone else, if you don't have enough influence, the other side will win out. So you could potentially ask for resources that you don't get because, again, someone else has more pull from that country in the case of a situation where they're running low on resources. Unfulfilled import requests. You have unfulfilled import requests. Oh, no, that's just what we just talked about. Okay. Okay, so these troops all moved, so they're now in a hex with a naval base, and we're going to go ahead and move them to the Ethiopian front as well. Only we're going to move them to the south. Okay, so we're reinforcing Somaliland, which is to the south of Ethiopia, and then to the north of Ethiopia, we're going to go through some of the combat rules, I guess, or the military rules. So we have... What do we have? 5 divisions here, 5 more here, and 4 over here. 1 mountain division over on the left. So basically, we've got 14 divisions here in Eritrea. And how do you fight? You could just click on a unit and move it, but we're not going to do that. That would be kind of an inefficient way. So one thing that Hearts of Iron 4 does have is the ability to create armies and fronts. So what we just did by clicking this little plus symbol, created an army, and it automatically includes all the units that we had highlighted. So you just click and drag to highlight units, and then again, by clicking that plus button, it created an army and automatically put them all in it. Now we have to assign a commander, or we should assign a commander if we don't want our army to suck. So what we can do is we click on that assigned commander, and this works for naval forces as well, but we don't really have to worry about them right now. And we can choose from a list of Italian commanders. Now they all have different skill levels here as well, so you can see this guy is a skill of 4, these guys are all skill of 1. Skill of just indicates the overall competency of the commander. There are different ranks. So there's a general rank, in which case they have a maximum capacity of leading 24 units. Not sure if they get a penalty if they go over that 24, or if they can't physically command more than 24 units, 24 divisions that is. But if you're a field marshal, you actually can command an unlimited number of units. So you can see here we have one field marshal, although he's not a very skilled one. We do have one field marshal. You can promote regular generals to field marshals, but they lose some of their traits. So one other thing here is you can see this guy has a trait of Old Guard. That's what that little star means. And then it gives different combat modifiers. If you promote people, they can lose those traits, and then that might make them less effective. So in some cases, you might want to keep a commander with a really good perk as your lower ranking officer, because maybe he has something you don't want to risk losing if you promote him to field marshal. Now, so we've got this army here in the north. We're going to change the army to the Italian First Army. And they're just chilling here, but there's more options than just that. You see these little exclamation points next to these these helmets? It says the division belongs to an army, but it has no orders assigned to it. So now you can see here on the bottom of the screen we have this option for battle plans, and there's a few different ones. So we could do a naval invasion order, which would be like an amphibious attack. But what we really want to do first, there's a fallback line, which you can kind of have, you retreat to. Or like a defensive line. But then you can also have orders like garrison, which we're not going to touch right now, and then assigning divisions to different attacks. But the first thing we should do is really create a front line. So what you do is you just click create a front line, and then you drag it across the different territories. And you can see here, it just put up a front line, this little, I don't know what it is, drawing on the map that shows the front line between our troops here and our troops here. And what that does is that ensures that this army will defend this position, and it can adjust forces as needed. So if the enemy attacks and you need reinforcements, the commander can move troops in his command anywhere along the front line to ensure that he doesn't get flanked or that he doesn't forget about a potential avenue of advance and the enemy go in right behind him. So it's really important to make sure that you don't forget to use those commands, again, because otherwise you could just advance one unit at a time, and sometimes these hexes aren't always easy to see, and they might get in behind you, and it's not an efficient way to fight. Troops get bonuses for using these battle plans. One other thing here is the offensive lines. So now that we've established a defensive line or a front line, we can do an offensive line. So what we do here is we click on that, and then the exact same concept exists. So let's say we want our troops to attack up to a point in the enemy territory to organize this battle plan. So what we do is we right-click on this territory, and then we just drag it. Oops. Why is it not letting me... Oh yeah, okay. So we right-click and we just drag it across the front that we want it to encompass, and you can see here now it establishes a kind of jagged front line along where these troops will advance to, and you can see it's assigned 14 divisions of the Italian First Army to this general advance following this arrow across. Now, they're not moving yet. This is just the planning phase. We're saying this is where we're going to want you to go, and you can see here, if we click this little check mark down here, at that point they will begin advancing. But I don't want to do that yet. I don't have strong enough forces. This territory is really rough. You can see there's mountains, and the enemy commander is actually pretty good too. The Ethiopians gave the Italians a real headache in the Ethiopian-Italian War before World War II in 1936. So we're not going to advance quite yet. If you hover over down here, you'll actually see that there's divisions still planning penalty. So if we were to move now, they wouldn't be as efficient as if we waited. So what that does is that basically acknowledges, hey, wait a minute, military plans don't go off without a hitch. They certainly don't go off on no planning at all. It takes time to plan in advance, and that's really what that's representing. D-Day wasn't begun just when someone said on June 5th, hey, let's go land tomorrow in France. It took months and months of planning, and again, that's what that represents. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to build a southern front as well. We're going to have a new army in the south. We'll go ahead and add create an army. We'll call it the Italian Second Army. And then we're going to go ahead and add a commander. We're going to go ahead and click to assign, and then we'll add our best general, this guy with 4 stars, General Giovanni Messi. We'll go ahead and select him, And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and choose a front line. We'll choose this front line along here. Again, there's no point in having the front line be on either of these bordering provinces because these are British colonies. So really, we just have to make sure that we have a front line along the entire front that the enemy might advance from, and they're not going to advance from inside England, or at least English colonies. And then we'll do another offensive line. So what we'll do is we'll say, listen, we want you guys to meet up with our troops here. Yeah, so you can see here now we've got two different front lines that kind of meet in the middle. Actually, I don't like the way that came out. I want to redo that. So again, if you want to delete orders, you just click this trash can and select the order you want to delete. So for example, we can delete that front line just by using that trash can and then selecting the order. Now we need to reform that front line. And sometimes you accidentally make, click buttons that cause troops to move when you don't really intend them to. If troops start moving something like that and you don't want them to, just re-click on the province they're in right now, and then, they'll stop. So we'll go ahead and we'll form a new offensive front line. And I think when you actually, if you highlight a front line that is longer than the number of units you have selected can easily maintain, you'll actually see the color change because it's going from basically, the number of troops you have selected is perfectly fine to establish a front line along these two provinces. But when you move it to a third, it's basically saying you don't have the density of manpower. You don't have enough troops to man that long of a front. And if you go again and you get it all the way to red, it's saying, wait a minute, if someone attacks you along this front, you're screwed because you don't have enough men to defend that front. So we're going to go ahead and undo that. And then we'll go ahead and form a new front. But again, it's only saying there's 2 divisions assigned to this. I don't like that. I may have misclicked here. So we should have 4 divisions. So you can see here these 4 divisions right there. Establish that front line. And then offensive. So it's still only doing 2 divisions, but we'll make some adjustments here. Oh no, it's doing 4. Okay, good. So there you go. We've got 2 front lines established here in Ethiopia that meet up in the middle, and both of those armies are planning. However, again, we're not going to launch them off quite yet. We are going to wait for reinforcements to arrive. These guys, I want to issue orders to... We're going to issue orders to our air units, so we've got them all selected here. I selected the air units by clicking on this little airbase icon here, and then I chose select all. So we've got a fighter, TAC bomber, and close air support. We're going to click on this enemy hex here, and then it's going to give us some options. So we can choose air superiority or interception, basically intercept enemy bombers in the region we selected, or gain air superiority. A tactical bomber can do close air support, strategic bombing, or port strikes. Ethiopia has no navy, and I don't really care about bombing infrastructure. I'd rather just kill enemy troops with close air support. And then we also have a close air support unit as well, which will do the same thing. Maybe softening up the enemy at this point, maybe not, I'm not really sure. So you can see here we're to January 18th. I don't think our troops have... How far south have they gotten on their boats? Oh, it looks like we've got some divisions that are starting to come in via the sea route. So we do have some troops which are coming in by sea, but they're not ready yet. So I'm not going to get too far down the whole what's the rest of Italy going to do, but I will mention diplomacy here real quick. So if you do want to, just sort by countries that like you, or no, countries you like, you can click this. If you want to sort by countries that don't like you, you click here. And again, this shows you the enemy's, or not the enemy, not everyone's the enemy, the country's opinion of you. So you can see, obviously, Ethiopia doesn't like us because we're at war with them. We could click on the country, and then it shows you their leader, tells you the type of country they are, gives you different options. So we could guarantee their independence, but not really because we're at war. We could offer them peace terms, but we haven't been fighting them long enough to really do that. Boost popularity of a party, the fascist party, for example, or stage a coup. These are all kind of moot points because we're at war with them, but just things to keep in mind because it will become more important later in the game when we start, not fighting everybody. Do we have any air forces here yet? Yes, we do. Okay, so we've got air forces down in Somaliland now as well. So we'll go ahead and give them the same sorts of orders: air superiority and close air support. The air superiority seems wasted to me because I don't think Ethiopia has an air force. But anyway, actually, I think I remember seeing an old World War II documentary saying they had one airplane in the Air Force, and it was just like a cargo plane. I'm glad to see that everybody here in the chat is having a good time. I see there's, wow, 27 of you watching, so thank you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to speed things up a bit. I want to get my new troops in place, so just sped it up about 10 days. So you can see here we've got these 3 armored units as well, which just landed, but they're not assigned to this new division because they weren't in it when we added them. So what we can actually do is we can just drag over them, highlight, and then right-click on the army we want them to join, and you can see here their icons all changed on the right. They changed to being that kind of light blue color, which is the color that represents this army. However, they're not included in the battle plans. That's what that little exclamation point means. So if we want to include them in that front line that we ordered them to, or ordered for before, what we need to do is hit division assignment mode, and then we want to go ahead and hit control left click, and it will assign them to that order. So you can see here it went from 14 to 17 divisions are assigned to this general axis of advance. I'm hoping we have enough men here now. I think we're still good on supply. Capacity 11, or 30, we've got 11. Yeah, looks like we're good on capacity, and our other troops are still not in place down here in the south. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, jump ahead. I think what I'll do is I'll tentatively schedule my offensive to begin maybe March 1st. I'm just not sure if the troops will all be in place by then. Well, we've got these troops. These guys arrived. So we're going to move them here. Would have been more useful to have these mountain infantry and the other section. So we're actually going to reinforce both flanks. So we're going to put 1 on each and then 3 in the middle, although again I believe your commanding general will make adjustments as needed. He certainly does once the attack begins. So we got to get these guys into place and then have them join the army, and then they need to join the plans for the assault as well. Now you can see there are some battles already going on. Oh, I missed it. There are some battles already going on, just as sort of a heads up, but I'll talk about that again when we see them happening. The Ethiopians have been making kind of probing attacks against us. I don't think that worked. Oh, wait. That's because I didn't add them to the army first. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and right-click, add them to the army, and then we got to go ahead and add them to the plan, so go ahead and do that. And... oh, control left-click. That's weird. Everything else is always right-click, so to have to do that is a little bit different. Anyway, so we've got them all added. It's now February 17th, 1936. And how are our troops coming along? It looks like we are still preparing. So you can see down on the bottom it says divisions are still preparing for the attack, which means, again, if we attack now, they won't be fully ready. So I'm okay waiting a little bit longer. Looks like we've got some free dockyards. I think our cruiser... yep, our cruiser completed construction. Wherever it was being constructed, the warships automatically enter the map wherever they were being built. So that actually gives us some additional naval dockyards, 2 more. So we'll go ahead and add 1 more to each of these battleships, again, to try and get them done a little bit quicker now. They'll both be done within 3 years. And does that change our trade? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Unfulfilled import requests. We still have those requests from Romania that's not doing everything we want them to. We still have air wings with no mission, but they're all the way back in the Sardinia, so I'm not too worried. And if we actually click on this little explosive icon, you can see that there is information about the war. So right now, Italy has a total of 39 divisions. Ethiopia has somewhere between 9 to 17, so intelligence is not perfect on that. We're not 100% sure. They've lost about 4,000 men in those probing attacks that I mentioned, but they're still 100% committed to this war. They haven't lost any victory points. You can see here it controls 100% of its own victory points. It won't surrender until it falls under 30. They're currently fighting alone and will surrender as soon as they have capitulated. So as soon as they get below that 30%. Meanwhile, in Italy, we control 100% of our own victory points, and we are not going to surrender either. We've lost 243 men to the Ethiopians at 4,000. Again, the reason those have been on those, we've been on the much better end of the casualty ratios thus far, because basically we're just staying behind our defensive line, and they've kind of poked their head out. Actually, here's a battle. Let's right-click on it. So you can see here the Ethiopians are attacking these two divisions here. You can see there's kind of a momentum figure here. It says we're currently winning. The battle will last an estimated 9 days. That changes quite a bit. You can see it actually bounced back to 10. Total aircraft on the top part here shot down or damaged. Well, there's no aircraft that we have to worry about. And then looks like they're in the pursuit phase and we're withdrawing. Why are we withdrawing? So I guess that's the tactic that our commanders picked. Maybe like a feigned withdrawal. No reserves, 2 divisions committed on our side, 1 on the Ethiopians. Looks like we heavily outnumber them, so I'm sure we'll win. And our general has a skill of 4 versus theirs of 1. Additionally, you can change the combat width, so how many divisions on each side will be able to join the fight. How wide is the front line? Are you kind of stacked up with a bunch of divisions behind each other, or are you kind of right to left, in column, if you will. Not column, but in a straight line, like a battle line. So, with that being said, let's jump ahead a bit to, I'm going to say let's jump ahead to maybe mid-March, or let's check where we're at on March 1st. Are our guys ready yet? Oh, looks like the guys in the north are ready. Okay. So we can launch our offensive on March 1st if we want. That can be go day for those guys. And in the south, they're still prepping. So we'll give it a few more days, and I'll take a look in the chat and see what you guys are talking about. Whoa. Looks like you guys are talking about the price of the game. I think it's going to be not $39.99, at least in US dollars. I don't know what that translates into everybody's currency, but that's what it's posted for on Steam. Also, guys, I'm getting a little notice from YouTube saying that the resolution isn't ideal at it's 1600 by 900 because that's what my monitor is, but please let me know if this looks weird. I tried downscaling it earlier in the stream. However, when I did that, it actually caused horrible distortion and the picture was way worse. So just let me know if if the game looks okay or not. As far as spying, I don't know. I'm not a expert, as I've said in Hearts of Iron. I won't claim to know everything about the game, but I have not seen anything in the way of espionage. There are some things like intelligence. So sea control, you might know more or less about an enemy unit. You might have estimates on the enemy's strength, but I think that has more to do with just kind of traditional military recon and not straight spying. There certainly are, like, you can... let's just, as an aside, while we kind of wait for things to get better, let's go ahead and take a look at the diplomacy screen. We can go to France and we can try and stage a coup. That's kind of about the extent, it looks like, of what we can do there. We can boost our party's popularity, so we can boost the fascist party's popularity in France. That may have impacts on France itself. There can be sabotage by resistance groups within a country. And you can actually deploy military police when you take over new countries or new territories, and they're better at garrisoning and fighting against saboteurs. But I think it's all kind of simulated. I don't see much in the way of formalized espionage or formalized sabotage, aside from staging a coup and boosting your party popularity. You can lend equipment to countries through Lend-Lease. You can send volunteers to a country to help them in their war, as long as they're not fighting against our allies. But actually, it doesn't look like Spain is yet in their civil war. But that's really about it. I don't see any other options for that. I could be wrong. Maybe that's a DLC thing. I guess we'll find out with time. Okay, we're going to fast forward to middle March. See if we're ready by then. We'll say March 15th. You can see the Ethiopians on the north are actually attacking. So you can see here different world events will pop up from time to time. The remilitarization of the Rhineland. So Hitler's marched his troops into the Rhineland and, taken that area back over. That was actually, and we also just finished our national focus. So let's pick a new one. We'll go to industrial war effort. That gives us more factories and build slots. So we'll do that. We'll stay on the industrial side. So Hitler actually in the 1930s marched troops back into the Rhineland, which is an area in the German border right along the German-French border. And in the Treaty of Versailles, the Germans were prohibited from having military troops there. Actually, for a while, there were Allied troops there. The Allied troops withdrew, and then shortly thereafter, when Hitler came to power, he decided, I'm going to send troops in here and remilitarize us and reassert our authority over it. It was kind of the first example of Hitler challenging the Western Allies and them basically being like, whatever, it's not worth it. There was some negotiation that went on ahead of time, so it wasn't a total surprise to the Allies. And from just a pure sovereignty standpoint, it kind of makes sense. Saying you can't have troops in your own country is a little bit iffy, but anyway. That's a good point, guys. There are different versions of the game. So there's kind of, and to me, I think they're more just kind of like collector's edition type deals, like, oh, you get different skins or, what have you. Anyway, okay, so all of our guys are ready. We're going to launch the guys in the south a little bit early. My hope is, and you can see here now, there's battles all along the front line that have all broken out. And the green basically means we're winning. So we're winning in this territory, and this territory. We have troops advancing all along the southern front. And I'm going to leave the northern front just a little bit. I doubt the Ethiopians are going to strip their northern border because that's where most of our troops are. But if they do, it'll make our attack heading south a little bit easier. So I am going to go ahead and hold off on that northern attack for a little bit. And you can see here again, it looks like we are in the process of hopefully fighting and winning. Yes, it looks like we drove them back on these two border provinces already. These guys are starting to move into this territory. Meanwhile, in this province, there's still fighting going on, but we're definitely winning. Should only be a few days. So let's jump ahead. And there you go. You see the front line automatically advances as your troops advance into new territory. So one of the nice things that I like about this, as opposed to like Victoria or I think Europea Universalis, is there used to be sort of this mechanism of where it took you time to occupy a territory. And you can see our general is ordering troops around here at his discretion. So one of the things that kind of represented was it takes a little while before you really control a territory. But when it comes to World War II, tanks move through and take over an area. That's kind of the ball game, right? I mean, that's kind of, I didn't order these guys over there, did I? I don't think I did. But that's kind of the ball game, You're not going to just all of a sudden take 6 months to occupy a province. If you push the enemy back along a front line, they're going to retreat, and that's your territory now, more or less, at that point. So I do like that change. It does look like... it looks like the enemy has pulled some troops south. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and launch our northern attack. I'm glad it looks like that actually worked, because they had 5 divisions here. Now they're down to just 2, and they've got 4 here in central... where are you guys marching that way? Don't go there. I must have accidentally clicked them over there or something. Let's reassign them. Okay, so they're reassigned to the attack. Yeah, because again, the enemy pulled serious reinforcements south, which again, I'm hoping makes our northern advance much easier here. I'd like to crush the Ethiopians by June is kind of my hope. That may be a little bit quick, but if we could beat them within 6 months, that would be awesome. So you can see here the attacks in the north are going well. We're driving them back. Whoa. Nowhere along this front does it look like we're losing. And it looks like they pulled the 4 divisions here they had back a little bit as well. So again, this combined offensive from the north and from the south simultaneously is going quite well. And again, we could micromanage this, but in this case it's nice. We can just kind of hand it to our commanders and let them kind of do this for us. Okay, so we did finish research on mechanical engineering. So that increases our research rate, so things research faster. And then I'm just going to go in and continue down that tree, because what I really want to get to is radio detection and then hopefully radar. Radar was critical, and these central powers are really behind when it came to radar. So I'd like to get to radar. So we're going to do radio next. Go right down that research chain as we continue fighting and winning here in Ethiopia, which looks like it may be a pretty easy victory. Not really easy, but you know, we took our time, we set the offensive up, we got the reinforcements in, we let our generals plan everything, and then we unleashed them all at once. And actually, I'm kind of neglecting some other things. It looks like we're missing equipment production. What is it saying we need? So we need more motorized vehicles and infantry equipment. That really just comes down to the fact that we're in the midst of a war, and as these guys fight and, you know, lose casualties, they actually use equipment up as well. So it means you need more resources kind of in your pools. The rest of these all look about the same. We take a look at the war situation. Ethiopia's 49% towards capitulation. If we control more than 60% of the victory points, then they'll capitulate. So we're getting pretty close to victory. We've only lost 500 men. Wow. In the tutorial, I just kind of went helter-skelter and rushed into the gap, if you will, and I lost thousands of men, like 50,000, not 50,000, I think like 20,000 Italians. So this is a much better outcome by using the game's, who would have thought, using the game's design mechanics for how you manage conflicts and front lines might actually help. They still have a decent number of divisions here. It looks like we're actually losing this battle over here. So the enemy certainly still has some fight left in them. Hopefully, even if they push us back here, you know, we've got their capital. There also looks like they're winning a battle here. Oh, no. Well, it's kind of back and forth here, so this... things are getting a little bit dicey. Okay. The enemy is building up a pretty strong force, 8 divisions in Addis Ababa, which is their capital. The fighting there, well, at least it looks like it's heading our way, although it looks like it's going to take forever. If we look at this battle here, you can see we are winning the battle, but the enemy is projected to hold out for quite a while. Still, the rest of Ethiopia, more or less, is all ours, just this one little pocket. So we've successfully pocketed them and are in the process of defeating them everywhere, although, you know, I would imagine at some point they're just going to run out of supplies. That is their capital, but still, at some point their infrastructure is going to give in, I think. I'm guessing, anyway. It looks like we're overwhelming them, and we should be victorious momentarily. Ooh, the Spanish Civil War has begun. A civil war has erupted in Spain. Several generals seeking to overthrow the current government in Madrid have issued a pronouncement, and a large portion of the Spanish armed forces have answered their call to arms. The right-wing nationalist faction has occupied much of Spain, so they're fascists, including the overseas territories. Loyalist forces and volunteers have assembled under the left-wing Republican government, determined to resist the push, or coup, to their last breath. The battle for Spain has begun. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. I'd like to beat Ethiopia first before I get involved there. Okay. So, still fighting. Why won't you just surrender? As soon as we take their capital, they will capitulate, so it's probably just a matter of a month or so. Meanwhile, we completed the national focus again, so now we've got another one. We could do industrial effort, which again adds more building slots and military factories. It's really going down the industrial route. That only takes 70 days. Looks like they all kind of take 70 days. We can't do Triumph in Africa yet because we have to take Ethiopia first. We could do naval or army doctrine, but I don't envision fighting a major war for a few more years. So let's keep on the industrial route. I really want to build up our economy as best as we can, as quickly as we can. Looks like we are short 6 oil. So we can always buy that from America, even though they're going to be someone we have to be careful about in the future. And then we're good. Okay. Missing equipment production, that's fighters and tactical bombers, air reinforcements, and artillery. Do we have any of those being produced right now? I don't think we do. No, we don't. What are we at factory-wise? We've got 1 spare factory. We can go ahead and have it be a factory for fighters. And we'll actually drop the support equipment a bit. Looks like we're doing okay there. And we'll use that additional factory for armor. Actually, I thought I was producing armor already. Oh, I am. What else am I missing? Artillery, that's what it was. It's probably something we should have anyway. Okay, so that should get us set there. Free civilian factories. Air wings with no missions. Unfulfilled import requests, we already knew that. I already am producing tactical bombers, aren't I? Close air support. Huh. Oh, whatever. That doesn't matter right now. Meanwhile, the fight is still going on. We'll go ahead and speed things up. I'm hoping by the end of June. Research finished. Basic machine tools, interwar artillery, support weapons. So if we go back to the research line, we can say we want to do improved machine tools, which will give us a increase in industrial capacity. We could do concentrated industry, which will give us a bonus factory output, also increase the maximum number of factories, or dispersed, which makes them less vulnerable to air attack, or construction 1, increase construction speeds. Or synthetic oils. We've got a lot of options, right? Oil seems to be an issue, actually. So let's... Do we want to do synthetic oil? Let's just go with more... oh, wait, no, that's ahead of its time, isn't it? Yeah, it's a half a year ahead of its time, so I don't feel like wasting 6 months of time waiting for that. So basically, you can have more factories... Screw that. I don't want to make that decision right now. Let's go to air doctrine. What do we want our air doctrine to be? I'd say battlefield support. We're going to need as much close air support as we can get because the Italian military and air force isn't great. I don't think we have really good strategic air options either. So we'll go with kind of the idea of using it as a tactical air force, kind of like the Germans did in World War II with sort of the tactical close air support, tactical bombers, not heavy bombers, that kind of route. And then for land doctrine, we should probably begin developing that further too. So we'll go with Grand Battle Plan. It's going to take a while to research that, almost a year. So we'll go with that. Artillery, that's ahead of its time. Armor, we've got 1 more slot we can fill. Let's do military police because we're soon going to have an enemy occupied. So I think it'll be useful to be able to have MP battalions since they're better for garrison troops too. We could we could modify our government as well at this point, but I'm going to wait till we conquer Ethiopia to talk about that. There we go. Okay, so Ethiopia fell. We have literally the whole thing conquered, and now we're in the peace demands. So you could make demands of a country in a peace treaty, but given the fact we conquered them, we're just going to take all the states, every single one. If we set it up as a puppet, it's interesting that there's actually a world tension increase, I think, or maybe that's a decrease. Yeah, that's red, it's a decrease, but I don't care. We're going to just take it. It's all ours. Okay. We annexed Ethiopia. We also seized some equipment that was left over from their military. So now all of Ethiopia is ours. Italy has this corner of Africa. Actually, did it look like there's fighting going on? That was weird. Okay. We could go for Belgium's Congo. That's really rich, but If we go to war with Belgium, yeah, might end up in war. So, it looks like the nationalist Spain versus Republican Spain, I guess, are in the midst of a civil war. So what we want to do is we want to go to the diplomacy screen and go to nationalist Spain and send volunteers. So we can send volunteers to help Spain in their fight. Oh, wow. We could literally send all of those troops. You need to select one or more armies to send. You have 0 divisions volunteer for it. Maximum total limit is 3. Okay. Whoa, I'm flying through time. And now we're in August. Oops. Well, that shows I'm dumb. Fuck. Okay, so I need to create a new army. Let's create a small little army. These guys, mountain troops. Spain has a lot of mountains, so we'll create a new army with this. I want to move this guy. And then we'll assign the guys in Ethiopia with some Joe Schmo. I don't really care. So our best commander is going to command 2 mountain divisions and 1 infantry division. And then we're going to go ahead and send those guys to Spain as volunteers. It does increase it does increase our tensions. National Spain will allow a volunteer force from our country to fight in their wars. Our troops are on their way to join the struggle. I assume we lose control of them at that point. They're basically under Spain's control now. Yep, they disappeared. Okay, so we're now helping the nationalists in Spain, the fascist government there. Meanwhile, in Ethiopia, we just took over Ethiopia. I have no real desire to keep 17 divisions in Ethiopia. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move all these guys to the port. We're going to pull them out. Meanwhile, this group here with 9 divisions, these guys have no orders. What we're actually going to do is we're going to change them to garrison troops. And we're going to tell them to garrison these countries. So they're going to garrison 3 different states, Eritrea, Somaliland, and Ethiopia with 9 divisions. That's probably way more than we need, but those are their orders. And what that'll do is they'll spread out across the countries and basically just keep law and order and peace and make sure that the people we just conquered are listening to our rules. So our volunteer force is in transfer. We have no national focus at the moment. We're out of that war. We could find another research slot. That'll only take 70 days, so we'll go ahead and do that. We have free dockyards, unfulfilled import requests. We could modify the government. We're still missing some equipment in production, so it looks like artillery's almost there. I don't think I have... Oh, I do have more factories. Okay, so what do we need? What do we need? Missing equipment. Tactical bombers. Okay, so we'll go here, build aircraft. Doesn't tell me which one we need. Well, it's just a regular bomber. Close air support. We're already building the close air support, so I'm assuming it's this guy right here, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, so now we're building everything that we need still. We still have free civilian factories, free dockyards, unfulfilled import requests. We could modify our government. We could build more stuff. So, what do we need the most of? That's almost done. That's almost done. I guess increase how much motorized stuff we're building. I'm not really sure. And then our shipyards, we still have some free shipyards now too. We have 1 available, so we'll go ahead and increase production on that destroyer. And yeah, we could produce more military stuff, but frankly, I don't really care right now. We do need more resources, which is a constant trend. Venezuela, give us your oil. Okay. We need steel. Really? I feel like that's something we should be able to build ourselves. We'll buy it from our fascist friends in Germany. Makes me feel weird to call them friends, but hey. And there you go. So we're in August. It's kind of a transitory period right now. It looks like the Republicans are actually doing okay, the communist-supported Republicans. So hopefully our 3 divisions will make a difference there. I'm going to fast forward to the end of August and get us into September and just kind of see where we're at then. So research-wise, do we have any open slots? No, we've got 2 days until radio is done, so we're almost done with that. And let's take a look at the stream chat. Yeah, I actually enjoy the tutorial. I think it's a good tutorial. I'm not playing the tutorial right now, Bod. So I played I started a new game as Italy. So keep that in mind. I guess it doesn't really matter. I didn't really kind of go all the way through the tutorial. What I actually did to kind of learn the game a little bit better, because I'm by no means, and it looks like our troops have arrived in Spain, I am by no means an expert in Paradox games, and specifically Hearts of Iron. So I read through the wiki, the majority of the wiki, and I found it very useful in getting to understand kind of the mechanics and how the game works. But I'm still figuring a lot of things out, so just keep that all in mind. We could do mechanical computing now, which increases our research speed, or we could do radio detection, which allows us to build radar stations. 146, 243. We'll do the radio detection. It takes less time. I'm really kind of going down the Army route as far as research, but I'm tempted to do something with the Air Force before too long. There's nothing I can do about unfilled requests. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. I don't really care as long as we have our needs. I'm not going to modify. Well, let's take a look at the government actually. So as I mentioned a while ago, we've actually been streaming for over an hour now. It's 2 a.m. my time now, so you can make some changes to your government. So right now we've got limited conscription. We could change this by changing the military to volunteer only. I don't want to do that. It'll increase our recruitable population, but I really don't feel like doing that. We could do disarm nation, which increases the recruitable population, I'm assuming, because people won't shoot you. Other options, which we don't have enough power for. We've got enough men, to be honest. We've got 700,000 men that we could recruit into the military. So there's really no need to make any changes there. Limited exports we could change. So we could change our our economy to be export focused, which would decrease research time. It would increase construction speed and increase factory output, as well as looks like increase resources to market. So we could do that, or we could do free trade, which would increase construction speed, lower research time, and factory output. Resources to market would be 80%. So I believe those are civilian resources that have to go to the market. In this case, we're at what, 25%? With limited exports. So I think we're going to keep that where it is right now. We don't have many trade options there, but I'm going to have some advisors. We could hire a political advisor, for example. We could hire a fascist demagogue, that's a good name, which will increase daily fascism support, so basically increase local support within the country. We could hire a Prince of Terror, which lowers the effect of partisans and lowers foreign subversive activities efficiency. So I assume when they're like promoting non-parties that we don't like. To be honest, right now it seems like our party's pretty solid. We're not having any changes, so I'm going to stay away from a political advisor. We could add tank designers, aircraft designers, or industrial concerns, theorists. Given that we're in the process of researching our Army doctrine, it might be worth adding a grand battle plan expert, because that is the path we're going down. It'll actually increase the Army experience gained. It'll also, I assume, increase the grand battle plan doctrine speed research. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll see. I don't know if it looks like maybe we increased it by a bit. I'm not sure. I should have paid attention to that beforehand. But basically, that'll speed up that particular field. But now we used all our political power, so no point in. We can't really do anything else. I don't know if you fire him, does it give you it back? If that's even possible. Yeah, I guess we could fire them, but I don't really see any need to do that because we're already researching that in all reality. So you can see here, now that we have troops in Spain, we can actually see details of, or more details of who's fighting where, the number of divisions on the nationalist side, estimates on the Republican side. I'm hoping our Italian troops will make a difference. It looks like they're up here in the north. So do we want to move them south? Oh, we do control them while they're here. Okay. So what do we want to do? We're losing in the center, it looks like. So let's go and set up a front line here with an offensive plan. There. Oh yeah, I always forget that. The front line, you draw the front line. That's what you draw. Okay. We'll go ahead and forget that. And then we'll assign these guys to that attack. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have to just kind of launch them right into the battle, because I don't know how the Republicans look like they're doing pretty good. The Nationalists are being pushed back pretty good. So I think the quicker we can get these guys in to combat, the better. I don't know. It doesn't look like anyone else has sent any troops that I can see. I'd prefer if they did. I don't want just the Italians fighting and dying here, but hey, it'll give us some military experience. You know, if we do well, hopefully it'll increase this guy's skill. I think your generals can increase skill as they fight. So I think we'll plan to launch on the 15th to send our troops in. And they're not ready, but I don't care. Go on the offensive. It's a limited offensive. The nice thing is here we're kind of concentrated on just a narrow front, so hopefully our limited number of troops can do well. I guess we'll kind of see. Okay, so we stopped. It looks like we stopped the enemy offensive there and then drove them back, so these guys did pretty well. Kind of hard to see with some of these. Some of these maps are kind of hard to... Still really hard to see between the different maps. Supply, states... Okay. Looks like we've got one more hex to take. Yeah, as far as my goals, sorry guys, I haven't been interacting with the chat as much as I probably should have. But as far as my goals with our troops being here is just help the Nationalists win. I don't want to involve myself in a siege, and it actually looks like we've already retaken Madrid from the enemy. I hate the coloring on the map. I'm sure there's something I could do that make it better. Make it more obvious. Show me a goddamn front line. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to need to establish a new front line now that we took this area. And I would say, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and cut the enemy off. If we can split them in two, it may make the guys in the north kind of pocketed and more easy to destroy. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new front line. It's going to be... Oops. What am I doing wrong? Oh, wait. Duh. I'm trying to create a front line when what I really want is an offensive line. Oops. We'll move over here. Okay, we're going to establish a new front. Not the whole front line, no. Establish a new front line here. Got to right click. And then we're going to attempt to establish an offensive here. Although, I don't know if I can... Yeah, I would need more troops than that. So we're basically just going to end up attacking and trying to isolate these guys in the north, but not actually cutting them off. It'll just be a general assault into this area. But we'll go ahead and do that. The plan is considered to be to our disadvantage, so apparently some plans are not well conceived. Okay. So again, we established a front line here, and establish an offensive line along here. Still not a good plan, probably because we're going to be heavily outnumbered here. So let's do this instead. Let's scrap this. Let's try just here. And then let's try front line here. Let's see what it says. Really? Superior enemy. Okay. So the enemy has a lot more men than we do here. Well, it does look like we're involved in a fight. That we are in the process of winning. Okay. So... maybe a more limited offensive? Some divisions not in position and still planning. Alright, well, we'll wait. We'll wait for a bit. As the Republicans advance in the north, anyway. Have we won this battle yet? Well, where can we go? So it looks like my initial attack was in the right spot, I guess. This plan is considered to be risky. I don't care if it's risky. If you're a good commander, you should be able to do it, right? Fast forward a bit. Not in position. Division's still preparing, but we could go. Go! So again, another limited offensive here in Spain as these front lines kind of ebb and flow a bit. But we just got some research done. So we'll go back and update that. Formation flying. We'll go ahead and research dive bombing next. And I think for Italy, we should probably start researching. Let's see here. We're not to 1938 yet, so infantry options are kind of off the table. Artillery we could do a little bit more of. No, we're still too far away for that. Anti-aircraft or anti-tank would be options. Anti-aircraft is going to be kind of important, but I'd rather go down... Well, we're already doing the land doctrine, so I'd rather go down the armor path. Some heavier armor. That was one thing Italy really struggled with in World War II. They really didn't have great armor units. I have not read the homage to Catalonia about the Spanish Civil War. I'll be honest, I know very little about the Spanish Civil War, other than you had the Republicans on one side who were supported by the Soviets, and you had the Nationals on the other side with the Italians and the Germans support. Know a little bit about the German Air Force's role and some tactics that were used there, but other than that, I know very little. I know Matrix Games has a Spanish Civil War game that's made by Ajod that I've heard is interesting, but I think it just kind of fits within the general Ajod model. That'll be interesting to see if, I guess, maybe like DLC add some things in here. I noticed some of the tech tree goes to 1950, so it'll be interesting to see if Hearts of Iron expands out into more like the Cold War as a result of DLC, or maybe like the Interwar. I think it'd be really neat if you started before 1936. I know Hearts of Iron is more of a combat simulator and less of a political simulator than some of the other games in the Paradox catalog. So diplomacy seems, anyway, to be a little bit less important than in other Paradox games, but I think it would be neat if you could kind of have the interwar, naval treaties, those kind of things going on at the same time. I forgot about my national focus. So we got the extra research slot? Oh, we did. Oh yeah, we've got 5 things researching right now. Cool. So now what do we want to focus on, folks? We go to the fortification effort, which I really don't care about. But that'll get us... Oh, we could go Italian highways. Adds a whole bunch of infrastructure in Italy. Okay. And then that allows us to prospect for oil. I don't really care about that. Not right now, anyway. Maybe when we get closer. So actually, we'll do Triumph in Africa. What does it do? It increases our national unity. So that's cool. Yeah, Bob, that's a good point. Paradox was looking at doing a Cold War game a couple years ago. I don't think they were developing it, though. The Hearts of Iron series is actually developed by Paradox, whereas I think that was being developed by a third party. But yeah, I know it was beset by a whole bunch of delays, or at least that's what the rumor is anyway, and it obviously never came to fruition. And I want to say they canned it a couple of years ago. So my thought was, if that was the case, then maybe it would make sense. They could revisit it and do it in house and do it right. That would be kind of neat if they did that. It looks like we're fighting a mechanized corps, actually. Might have been smart to bring more mechanized troops. I feel like we're being pushed back, although we did retake Madrid. In the south, we seem to be doing better. In the north, the Republicans seem to be doing better. This fight's supposed to be over now, isn't it? 2 days? Grigory Zhukov, we're fighting the Soviets. Ah, yes. So we're fighting some volunteer forces ourselves, and it looks like we were beating the Soviets, so that's neat, especially because it was a mechanized force, and Italy, again, doesn't have the best mech troops. Although we did send some cracked mountain troops. Have we not won this battle yet? Less than a day. And we'll see where we want to go next. Okay. So my goal is to kind of try and cut off... Oh, it looks like we still have another phase to our offensive. Madrid is still under our control, or our side's control, but it's obviously being threatened here. Looks like if we actually attack in here, we'd cut off some enemy troops there too, so that would be nice. Yeah, so we'll see. This war is kind of dragging on a bit. Yeah, the Korean War certainly doesn't get its due. I would say Vietnam as well. Vietnam gets covered in different ways, but it gets ignored in terms of kind of the combat, because I'm not sure anyone's really convinced, really knows how do you do it right. There was a Matrix game that came out that was kind of a turn-based combat simulator, not really combat simulator, but almost like a turn-based, I don't even know how to describe it, but very high-level combat without any real specific. It was just very abstract. It was kind of, well, maybe it's in the Ia Drang Valley, but maybe it's not. What I think would be really interesting is a Vietnam grand strategy game. The question is how you get that right because coin is really hard, especially at a grand strategy level, to do. But I think that would be an interesting game. Korea would be interesting as well for different reasons, but I think Korea would fit more with sort of a tactical battle simulator. You could do grand, but I'd really say kind of like an operational level game would be about the highest that Korea would make a ton of sense to do. But actually, well, it wasn't the actual Korean War, but the what was it? I can't remember the name. It's a real time strategy game. Shoot. War Game Air Land Battle has a Korea scenario in their most recent game, which is very eerily similar. They just kind of copied, oh, this happened in the Korean War, so let's do another landing at Incheon, and let's do another Pusan perimeter type deal, I think. And then, of course, Falcon 4.0 handled a hypothetical future Korean conflict. But you're right, the real Korean conflict certainly is undercovered. I want to say Chuck Yeager's Air Combat from way back in the day had a scenario that dealt with Korea, or a couple of combat scenarios from an air war standpoint that dealt with Korea. Well, it's going to be risky, isn't it? Estimated value of the plan -20. Division still preparing. That's a risky offensive. I'm up for taking risks. Now it's to our advantage. Launch it. So again, I'm trying to drive a wedge between the Republicans in the South and in the North. If I can get my troops to the sea, we can do that. But again, I can't control the other Spanish forces, so it's kind of just hoping. Oh, it looks like the Germans did send some troops too, so good to know. I'm kind of making a salient. Yeah, that is basically what I'm doing right now. But I'm okay with that because I'm trying, if I can cut the enemy off. A salient is bad in the sense that it allows an enemy to attack you on multiple fronts and your firepower is limited in what you can do to return while theirs is maximized. But it can actually be a positive if you can drive that wedge all the way to the sea, and then it becomes a corridor that cuts the enemy in two. At least that's my thought process. We researched MPs. We really need to research these other support units too, I would say. I just don't know which is most important. Logistics, signal. I guess we'll go with maintenance company. So we'll do a maintenance company research. Where are we on the rest of our research right now? It looks like 46 days from radio detection, which will allow us to have radars, which will be cool because the Axis was always way far behind on that. So we are creating a salient here. There's no doubt about that. But again, we're trying to cut. It doesn't even look like the Spanish have many troops in the north anymore. Looks like they're almost all in the south. But we are driving them back, so it does look like the war has kind of turned in our favor. Yes, there was an operational game. It was Theater of War, very similar at a high. I've never played it much. I have the game, but I haven't actually played it. That might be a interesting game to do a series on. Theater of War was a operational game, very similar to kind of combat mission in terms of, when I saw the game, my initial reaction was like, wait a minute, isn't this combat mission? So it's an interesting game to look at. It might be something worth doing a series on in the future. Where are we at production-wise? We've got some free naval docks. These are still about 2 years away. You can cut a few months off by doing that. Battleships just eat up so much production. Actually, what would happen if we do this? 11 months? I'm just wondering if it's worth cutting production on it substantially and reallocating it to get one out the door right away, but I need to come up with a better strategy of what I want to do industry-wise, and I'm wasting a lot of game time. We're almost a year in, and I don't have a good strategy on any of this yet. Logistics look like they're in good shape. think what I'll do is I'll try and drive to the sea, and then we'll go from there. But again, I'm wasting time. Wait, anti-Comintern Pact. We can refuse to join, in which case Germany's opinion of us will go down, or we can join, in which case the Russians won't like us, but hey, the Germans will. Yeah, no question there. We're joining the anti-Comintern Pact. And our troops are losing battles in the rear. So that's not good, because it looks like the enemy may be trying to cut our troops off. Battle's currently undecided. How's our general doing anyway? What's his, still a skill level 4, huh? Yeah, I don't think they have any ports here. But again, I'm thinking more isolating the troops. Sure, they've got some ports on the northern end and they can get supply through. I'm not talking about cutting their supply so much as making sure that we can kind of just surround and isolate one force and then focus all of our effort on reducing them while keeping a minimal force on isolating the other half. It does look like we're about to be surrounded. So I'm assigning all my troops to retreat that way. Giving up on that advance. Hopefully my guys can pull out. I don't want to see them get wiped out. Gregory Zhukov, maybe he's beginning his pincer movements early. It's hard. I think a problem with the way that volunteer troops work is it's really hard to coordinate between 3 different countries on how you want a front line to move. I'm assuming that'll probably be the difficulty in the actual war later too, but anyway. Drinking some nice Italian wine while playing Hearts of Iron as Italy is an added perk. Let's take a look here. Free dockyards still. We've got 1 free. So I guess what we'll do is we'll lay down another ship. We'll just lay down another destroyer. That eats up 1 factory. Meanwhile, I've got 2 army factories that are open. Trying to think of what else I could build. I'm already building tanks. Building aircraft. I think I'm building all of this stuff actually, so it's just a matter of increasing capacity, I suppose. So we'll increase artillery up a bit. And everything's maxed out now, not on the civilian factories, but what we'll have to do now is we'll have to go back to trade. Constantly need to make sure you've got everything you need on trade. Try and trade as much as I can with the Germans, but you know, they don't have a lot of resources themselves. Let's actually recruit an armored division. Put these guys in, I don't really care where. Okay, so recruiting some troops, still have some free civilian factories. I suppose we could increase infrastructure. Actually, no, anti-aircraft might not. Well, I don't know. I'm so indecisive. What should I do? I suppose we could build more military factories in southern Trial. I'm kind of putting them closer to the line with France, but I'm anticipating an American advance up the south of Italy and up the boot. So if I put these factories way up north, they're further away from American air raids. Um, our troops aren't cut off here, not yet anyway. We've got a fallback line. We're certainly bearing the brunt of a lot of Spanish forces here fighting against us right now. It'd be real nice if the Republicans could use our death as somehow they could use it to someone's advantage. I wonder if I could have deployed air forces to Spain. Can we send more volunteers? No. Okay. So we can't send any more. Okay, fine. I suppose we could go to war with Republican France if we really wanted to. Justify a war goal and then go to war with them. Looks like the Soviet Union is sending volunteers. Meanwhile, the Italians and us, we are the Italians. The Italians and the Germans are sending troops to aid the nationalists. Let's fast forward a bit. Still fighting that battle. Still winning. But other than that, industry's at max capacity right now. There we go. Triumph in Africa. Okay, so national focus gives us some bonus. What was it? Bonus national unity. So that's good. And now we have some other options. We already are supporting national Spain. What would that do? Gains volunteers in civil war opinion of Italy. Okay, we already did that. Original country is Republic Spain. Current ruling party is fascist. Has 2 volunteers or more from Italy. This focus will pause of the... Okay, I don't understand what that does. I guess it just gives us the option of a Spanish-Italian alliance down the road or making claims on the Balearic Islands. Also gives us the option of befriending Portugal. It's only 70 days. We might as well do it. We can only do it while they're in the Civil War, so it gives us more options, which is why I'm doing this route, because down the line then I can maybe sign an alliance with Spain, which should make us theoretically stronger, although the nationalists aren't anything to write home about. But we're 1 year in. We've conquered Ethiopia. We're in the process of helping the Spanish. We've increased some industrial capacity by building some factories. We've also sped up the production on some battleships, finished a few cruisers, increased our military by a couple of divisions, and we've balanced the books financially. So at this point, I'd say it was a decent first year. I would have liked to have accomplished more, but I think these kind of early years can be a little bit slow. How do the American AI react to what? Leonardo, I know you asked how the American AI react, but what do you mean? What react to what? I assume the Americans act the way they did historically at this time, and that's somewhat isolationist, and then as the world tensions go up, then they become more belligerent. That's one thing I didn't mention. There's something up here on top of the map. It's called kind of basically it's world tension levels. So the largest world tension has been generated by Germany. They have 2.1%. Current scale 94. Latest change, anti-Comintern pact increases kind of the world tensions. So again, this is just symbolizing, is the world on fire? Is the world about to erupt into a world war? As this number goes up, democracies get more belligerent and are more likely to become involved militarily. So far, there haven't been a whole lot of events that would cause them to be angry. Italy did go to war with Ethiopia, but it's worth remembering that actually when Italy conquered Ethiopia and the Italian king Victor Emmanuel III claimed the Ethiopian crown, it was recognized by, I believe, the French and definitely the British as kind of a legitimate campaign. Now, they weren't happy when he went in, but the end result, they did recognize Italy's conquest of Ethiopia. So it didn't dramatically alter, really change anything. It was more of, I would say, post World War II. They could use it more as kind of propaganda against the Italians. But remember, the Italians conquering a province in Africa, England and France not owned, but were ruling over all the rest of Africa pretty much just themselves. The Belgians a little bit too, but they couldn't really be too upset about a European power colonizing the only remaining free state in Africa when they occupied all the others. The Americans refused to recognize it. I think the Soviets refused as well. Could be wrong there, but it was something that certainly was maybe not popular, but it wasn't a dramatic increase in world tensions or anything. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I'm fighting Gregory Zhukov and losing with a single division. That was stupid. Wait, why are you retreating through enemy territory? That's great. Okay, whatever. Okay, I want you to fall back to that fallback line, and then I can kind of reorganize what I want to do with my offensive. Thank you for answering that question in the chat, Christopher. I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to attack up this line. All right, guys, I need to take a real quick bathroom break, so I'm just going to pause the game here and leave the stream up. So just not sure what to say. Just bear with me for a minute if you could. All right, folks, I'm back. Sorry about the delay there. Um, let's see here. Oh, my mouse slipped on the screen. So as we return to combat here, we're pulling these guys back out to this back line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try and advance up this, what amounts to a salient for the enemy, mainly because there's a mechanized unit here under Gregory Zhukov with the Soviets, and I kind of view that as a bigger threat. It does look like on the whole that we've solidified the front here on the nationalist side. The Republicans appear to be holding things, but they've just got a really long front line here. We've got kind of an advantage of interior lines. If they want to shift troops north, south, or whatnot, they got to go a long way. Our troops kind of have a shortcut. So I'm hoping that means that we're on the victory march, if you will, but I want to get our troops kind of repositioned, and then we can go ahead and we can kind of advance on a new front here along this salient here, hopefully toward Zaragoza, and hopefully overwhelm the enemy. Go ahead and get rid of this fallback line. We'll go ahead and form a new front line, and that's going to be along here. Of course, I got a right click, not right click. It's too long of a front. And then we'll go ahead and make our Oops. That was an accident. I didn't mean to send them all into combat right away. Anyway, so let's see if they can execute on that. Says it's a disadvantage of a plan. Ah, whoa! Just fast forward it a bit. So our troops are advancing, and I didn't even initiate the plan yet, but they did take a couple of those provinces there. Actually, in the south, it looks like the Germans, these German troops here, kind of finished or expanded upon my attempt to cut off the northern Spanish from the southern Spanish. And it looks like they nearly succeeded. There's a really narrow gap here between there's a very narrow gap between the sea and the Spanish forces, and it looks like the bulk of the Spanish troops are in the south. We just have a few here that we're facing in the north, which allows my small force to be more effective, I would say. Meanwhile, we did have some research that completed, so let's go ahead and continue down the radar line. It looks like Decimeter radar, we're still about a half year ahead of schedule there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to research mechanical computing. It's going to take the better part of half a year, a little bit more. Meanwhile, modify government. So it looks like we've got enough political will or power to make some modifications here. Industrial research time. Yeah, let's do that. I'm big on increasing industrial capacity. I really think that's an area we need to focus. So come on. So I would say we need... What the hell? Whatever, I don't care if it's risky. Just go. Okay, maybe I'll just do it without a plan. Just go right in. No war plan, just attack and kill and whatever. So you're fighting this battle here in the north, currently winning. Says we're at a disadvantage, which is interesting because we've only got the one territory and... Whoa, where are they going now? Oh, that's why it was a disadvantage. Slow down. Okay. Yeah, you can choose any country, Leonardo, to play as. You can really do whatever you want as far as the country you want to play as. Um, I'm going to go back down here. And definitely an inferior enemy. It is deemed to be risky because we've only got one. They could easily cut us off, but it looks like there's a superior enemy to our flank. But hey, it's, Spain. Let's go for it. You can play as any country you want. I would say Italy, honestly, in this era, interests me kind of the most. Italy is an interesting country in either World War II or World War I scenarios. I think they get kind of a bad rap as far as not being the most competent soldiers in World War II. In World War I, they really, they sacrificed a lot, and I mean a lot. They had some incredibly bitter battles fought in the mountains and in the Alps of Italy. Tens of thousands of soldiers fighting and dying in conditions more extreme than anywhere on the Western Front, and probably more extreme than anywhere on the Eastern Front as well. They kind of felt betrayed. That's one reason that the fascists were able to gain some support and rise to power in Italy, is that the Italians felt betrayed because in the aftermath of World War I, during the Versailles Treaty, the Allies kind of went back on their word as far as what they said Italy could get in the treaty, and disregarded what Italy was asking for. They had some claims on Austrian territory along the Dalmatian coast, and they didn't get what they wanted. Despite the fact that Austria-Hungary fell apart and was broken into many other states, the Allies basically went back on a treaty that they had agreed during the war to the Italians. The Western Allies were really bad about that. They basically would say and do anything to get a side to join their war, and then they didn't do a very good job of following through on what they said they would do. So that's something that was not terribly uncommon, to be honest. It happened quite a bit during World War I, where the British or the French would tell someone, literally whatever they wanted to hear in the hope that that side would join them in the conflict. And then, when in the case of Italy, when they did listen to that, by the time when the war ended, they didn't honor it. Anyway, so the support for national Spain is done for our national focus. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to... I don't think these are mutually exclusive. I can do Mare Nostrum or Army Primacy, but we'll go ahead and do Army Primacy, given that we're engaged in a lot of conflicts. And we have successfully cut them off. You can see here we have taken this territory. We're in the process of taking this one. So the Republic is now cut in two. Actually, it looks like three, or close to three, because it looks like the forces in the south are Swiss cheese, and now the forces in the north are kind of isolated north toward Barcelona, which is now their capital. So things are going better in Spain as of this moment, although with as many troops as the enemy has left, I would not be surprised if this ends up dragging out for another year or so of conflict going back and forth. See here, free civilian and military factories now. What's all opened up here? We've got one additional military factory we can use. Here's the thing is, right now I'm not building a ton of infantry. I mean, I guess I can keep building up infantry equipment, but the problem is that's all going to get modernized, so at some point that's not really going to matter anymore. Same for my Air Force. They're all going to be obsolete anyway. That's why I'm not building a ton of them. Not really getting much in the way of Air Force experience. We are gaining quite a bit of army experience right now from our troops in combat in Spain, though, so that's good. You can use that to modify forces, and it helps you get better. Making History, I have not played that. I own that game, Leonardo. It's a I think they have a World War II and a World War One version. I think it's in a lot more depth and a lot more detail, based on kind of the reviews and what I've heard about it. Is that it was sort of one of those games that like literally goes into extreme detail, whereas Hearts of Iron is a little bit more abstracted. It's a little bit more approachable, I would say, at least at this stage. I'm sure once we get into the Eastern Front or something like that, things will be crazy. But right now, it's a little bit more abstract. So Making History, there's actually two different versions of it. There's a making, well, there may be more than two, but there's one that focuses on World War One, which is Making History the Great War, and there's one that focuses on World War Two. I don't know, that one just might be Making History. I'm not sure. I don't remember all of them. But anyway, that's all I really remember about it. I don't think there's a Making History on the U.S. Civil War. I could be wrong, but I don't think there is. There were World War One and World War Two, I believe. Yes, actually you do. So if you try and research something before it's done, or before it's time. So for example, we go here, we're looking at the support battalions section. So there's different times that units or abilities were researchable. So we go to industry and we go to not that we go to engineering, we go to nuclear atomic research. You can see we could research atomic research, but we get a pretty big penalty there because we're 2.5+ years ahead of our time. So it basically is telling you could research things early, but you're going to pay for it, and that's going to cost other things that you could have been researching. So I don't think it's necessarily always the wisest thing to do. But you can do that, yes. Okay. Oh, you're talking about War of Rights. Um, yeah, I hesitate to talk too much about a game that's not really. I have no ability to play yet. I will say I'm really enjoying Hearts of Iron 4 so far. Um, for the early game, it seems maybe a little bit slower, but it's also more approachable for someone who's not used to playing the game a lot. Diplomacy doesn't seem to have too much of a role in the game at this stage. It's nice to see that world tensions go down as well with time, until Hitler decides to annex like 3 countries in 3 years, and then I'm sure things will go batshit crazy. But at least for now, tensions have dropped, and that's good to see. Let's see here. Let's advance. Get into position, and then we can launch an offensive. The enemy has a shit ton of men there. We're not going to attack 5 divisions. Okay. So we're basically trying to pin the enemy, drive them away from the coast now is kind of my thought process, as we can use our Italian troops here and move north toward Barcelona, which I believe is the enemy capital. As you can see here, we're pushing them more and more into the sea in the south, and then on the north, I'm going to try and slowly advance in toward Barcelona here, with our troops. Oh, research finished. Holy crap. Sometimes I just make time go way too quick. Oh, the humanity! The Hindenburg disaster. The German passenger airship Hindenburg was destroyed today while attempting to dock at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in the United States. For reasons not yet determined, the airship was engulfed in flames and crashed to the ground, claiming 35 lives. Due to the scarcity and expense of helium and the U.S. ban on exporting it, the Hindenburg, like all German passenger airships, was ultimately engineered to use hydrogen, which proved a greater lift but is also flammable. Oops. With public faith shaken by the disaster and the rise of much faster passenger aircraft, this could spell the end of the era of airships. And indeed it would, as passenger airliners become more and more common. And the Humanity line was a famous quote of the Hindenburg disaster. The airship caught fire and burned incredibly rapidly, and it was actually being broadcast live as the airship was coming into dock on the radio, and the radio speaker, I don't know his name, had a famous line, basically just that. He's like crying out as this airship is burst into flames and crashing to the ground. He cries out, "Oh, the humanity!" as people are there dying in front of him, and it's one of the famous quotes in terms of broadcasting history. Looks like we're in the process of winning that battle, but the enemy has quite a few troops up here in the north. I don't know if we could really drive toward Barcelona. That would probably be a little bit, doing a little bit more, would be my guess, than we can really support. If you're looking for a good World War I shooter, Leonardo, I might recommend checking. Oh my goodness, I might recommend checking out Verdun. It's a pretty good game. I want to say it's made by an indie developer, but it's an FPS. Toy Soldiers is okay, but it's very clicky. It's very much a game. And if you're kind of talking about War of Rights as sort of this ultimate civil war FPS type game, then I would say Verdun is going to be more appropriate to what you're looking for. Okay. Come on, guys. Just beat these folks. That's the thing, is I don't really know where the real balance is. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. Research slot available. 2 research slots available. Okay, so we researched that medium or that heavy tank. The P-26 is way ahead of its time. I don't really care about the light tanks. The Italian light tanks are so crappy. I don't really want to do it. I don't want to do it. Don't make me. Suppose we could do a research company, but that takes 180 days. Why can't things go faster? These are both ahead of time. We could research Marines, but I don't think we're going to be doing a ton of amphibious attacks. Paratroopers might not be a bad idea. What do you guys think? I'll throw it up to the audience. What should I research next? First, tell me, should it be like land forces, naval forces, air forces, or industry, or, tell me that first. Anybody? What should I research next? I'm just taking a sip of my beer while you guys tell me what I should research next. Industry, first person, you win. Okay. Let's see here. Improved machine tools. We are in 1937. We could do that. That'll increase our production cap. I'm still hesitant on whether I want to do dispersed or concentrated industry. I don't know. But I think maybe we'll go improved machine tools for the first one. That's 122 days too, so it's a little bit shorter, so that's nice. And then maybe synthetic oil, because we always are having issues with not having enough oil, but that takes a long time. So maybe we don't do that. All this other stuff isn't really ready yet. We could do doctrine. We probably should do doctrine. We've gone a little bit down the air support doctrine, but what about land doctrine maybe? I would like to hit the Balkans. I feel like that'll make more sense to try and conquer like Greece and Yugoslavia before we really try and go to war with France and the U.S. or oh my goodness, the U.K. So my hunch is let's go for the Balkans before we go anywhere else. We're already in the process of researching prepared defense. Maybe improved. No, still too far away from improved artillery. We could do anti-tank. I don't think Yugoslavia or Greece are going to have much in the way of tanks. I guess maybe since we would be going on the offensive soon, we would want some armor ourselves. Actually, let's do logistics. Decrease supply usage. Yeah, we'll do logistics company. Well, I can build fighters, but I don't know if I need to research new ones. Let's see. Civilian factories still have... You know what might make sense, too, is especially if we're going to do a land invasion out of Italy, is increasing our infrastructure in Italy as well. So that's what we're going to do with our remaining civilian factories here. Radar. Or we could do an airbase, like right on the border with Yugoslavia. I don't know if I want to do infrastructure. Let's do an airbase, literally right on the border. And does that eat up our remaining factories? Yes, it does. Okay, so there you go. So we're going to build an airbase right on the border with Yugoslavia, so then as we advance... Holy cow, Yugoslavia is big. As we advance into Yugoslavia, we'll have close air support nearby. Why does their flag look like Germany? Their troops look a lot like they're Germans. Now, the one thing with Yugoslavia, too, is we'd be attacking another fascist nation, so it'll be interesting to see if Germany gets pissed off at us because... well, we're attacking fellow fascists, so that may not be cool for some people. We don't really have the manpower to do this yet, I don't think. We need more than that. Did our troops ever get back from Ethiopia? I kind of forgot about Ethiopia down here. I think I left my troops in Ethiopia. Sorry, guys. Do you want to come home? Yeah, you guys are probably pissed at me. Sorry, guys. Let's bring you home. Okay, guys, we're bringing like 17 divisions home who were just staying for a year on vacation in Ethiopia, or actually you were in Eritrea. And I did put you along the beachfront, so you probably had some nice weather, some nice sun, you got some vacation, away from the family, didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. Just got to hang out with your pals and in Ethiopia. So, oops. Yeah, I probably need to build more Air Force right now, more Air Force units. Recruit and deploy. I guess I didn't even realize this, but I'm continuing to recruit new infantry and armor units as well. But I probably should add some air units. I just don't know how to do it. How do I add an air unit? Oh, you build it. Okay. We have 208 airplanes stationed in Piedmont. We don't need any aircraft in Somaliland, so you guys are all coming back. Eritrea too. We don't need you guys to stay there. And we have 208 aircraft stationed in Piedmont, which is in Italy, so that's fine. We can transfer them when we get closer to war. I need to get those 17 divisions back out of Eritrea before I really do anything else, so we'll wait for those guys to ship in, and then we'll see kind of where we're at. I don't think 20 divisions is going to be sufficient against... Ooh, Army Primacy is going to be sufficient against the Italians, but we'll see. So, Army Primacy, the national focus, completed. Modernized artillery, or air innovations. But that requires Mare Nostrum. I guess let's keep modernizing the army because, frankly, we need to make sure... And are these changing at all? No, it looks political situation's the same. So we need to make sure that the army is as modern as possible when dealing with mountains and shit. So these guys are almost back. It's almost June. These early warriors go really quick. Or not really quick, really slow. But I have to imagine once you're engaged in an actual major war, things would go a little bit differently. Alpine region, okay. Let's see, how do we want to break these guys up? We're going to disband this army. Or maybe we can assign all painted orders will be deleted. Yeah, okay, so that army's gone. We've got some armor. I'm just trying to think terrain-wise what makes the most sense. Let's see here. These guys go here. Oh, actually no. I mean, these are just regular infantry, so... Stay here. Okay. So the 3 armor will go in the middle. We'll kind of create a spearhead, but we'll also want to get any mountain troops. I don't know if I have any in here. Yes. These guys will definitely want to go north, because there's going to be some mountains right along here, right along the border. So the armor might want to flow south. Well, actually, that doesn't even matter. We don't even have to worry about that, because that's up to the commander. We just have to say, where do we want the front line to be, and the commander will figure everything out. So basically, we're just going to create a new army in Italy. And then we're going to go after Yugoslavia. Meanwhile, maybe we should go check in Spain. Meanwhile, in Spain... So the north is pretty much bottled up there. Looks like we've... And in the south, they're pretty much in the same spot they were. Why is one of our guys all the way down here? In Valencia. So... They've got too many troops up here for me to do much. I think? I don't know. Let's see... What about that front line? I don't care about that. We've got several provinces security now. What about that front line? I don't care about that. Let's build a new front line. These 2 provinces. No. Ah! Okay. So, scrap that. And you stop moving. Let's try that again. Okay, front line. Right click. There. Okay. And then axis of advance. I guess we'll just do that. And we'll see. What does he think about the plan? Risky. Inferior enemy, so that's good. Defense still preparing. Division still preparing, and not in position. Okay, so fine, we can wait. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to kind of continue driving north until we isolate that pocket. Meanwhile, in Italy, I'm going to roughly get the troops in place, and then I'm going to start thinking about advancing into Yugoslavia. I would like to take them over before World War II formally supports. It shouldn't be too outrageous because, again, world tensions are down to 0, basically, which should make an aggressive Italy in 37 be more plausible. The only risk is that, unlike in World War II, where the Germans could come to the Italians' aid, if we're not in World War II yet, that may be a little bit difficult to do. I do not live in the East Coast. Actually, I live in the center of the country. I live near Chicago. So it's like almost 3 in the morning my time right now, and I've been streaming for like 2.5 hours, but I appreciate you guys, sticking with me here. I don't stream a lot, so I know I've got a lot to work on, but it's enjoyable, and I'm really enjoying Hearts of Iron 4 so far, so let me know what you guys think, but in general, I'm having a good time and kind of stumbling my way through 1937. And if you guys have tips, please throw them in. I'm not doing a good enough job of interacting with the chat. You guys have been chatting away quite frequently, so I need to do a better job of keeping an eye on what you guys are doing. I will make sure we have some cavalry in there. Is cavalry really all that useful in 37? Wouldn't, I guess tanks in a mountain would be less useful than a horse, I suppose, but looks like we're already fighting. I haven't even initiated that war plan yet. Huh. We're going to fast forward to the end of June now that I initiated that plan. We'll see if it goes through and works. Wow. Maintenance company. Okay, good. So maintenance companies are done. We're research field hospital. Let's do it. I'm just kind of keeping one researching the support units because I'm going to want to rebuild the Italian divisions before too long, and I want to make sure that that they're rebuilt with everything we can get. All the. Oh no, Amelia Earhart. No. Wait. No, she didn't disappear yet. Spoiler alert, Amelia Earhart disappears. The famous aviator Amelia Earhart, known to many as the Queen of the Air, has completed a flight around the world together with her navigator, Fred Noonan. After a brief scare where the pair temporarily got lost while... Wait a minute. She lived? I'm confused. I thought she disappeared. Anyway. That's a variant on history. So she lived. Yay! I don't think it has any impact on anything. Maybe it has an impact on the United States. I don't know. I just assumed it was like a precursor to her disappearing, but she disappeared, I think, when she was going to circumnavigate the world. So, yeah. History is different, I suppose. Leonardo, you want to ask me an important question. What is that important question? And yes, I can hit spacebar to pause. Okay, guys, just beat them already. They have a lot of kind of hidden divisions up here in the north. Why do I only have 2 divisions there? 1, 2, where's the third? Oh, there it is. Okay, we're going to try and advance on Barcelona. I'm trying to advance up the coast and just cut these guys off from their base of supply. And if we can take Barcelona, then we can do that. What is my what is my favorite? That's a good question. What is my favorite historical era? What I should do is I should say, start my answer. And then right before I really tell you what it is, I should say, but you'll have to wait till next week when I launch it, when I have a video just about that. That's what I should do. What is it, though? Honestly, I'm not really sure. I would say I know the most about the American Civil War in high school. Was it high school or middle school? I found my mom had the 3-volume set of Shelby Foote's narrative history of the American Civil War, and showing you what a huge nerd I was. I decided, you know what? I'm in the process of going up to a trip to northern Wisconsin. I lived in Wisconsin at the time. And, I was going up to a friend's lake house. It was like his uncle's, but, he let his mom, or let his sister, his uncle let his sister, in this case my friend's mom, use his lake house every summer for a week. And we were on our way up there, and I decided, listen, I'm going to be in the car for like 6 hours. I'm going to read this book. It's a 3-volume series on the American Civil War. It's like 700, 900, and like 600 pages. So it's like, over 2,000 pages of history on the American Civil War. And I ended up reading the whole first one on that trip, falling in love with the writing style of Shelby Foote. And then, over the course of that next couple of weeks after I got back from that trip, I read all 3 volumes in their entirety. And that's odd. I'm sure there's not a ton of high schoolers who are going to read 2,500 pages of Civil War history, but I did, and I enjoyed it. I loved it, and I'd already known a fair amount of history about the American Civil War before that, but that was really when I kind of it was where I had enough knowledge, because I've read such a deep history of the war, to be able to really talk about tons of things in the Civil War outside of just the major battles, which I already knew about. Marco Polo Bridge incident. The Japanese are invading China. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of, I would say, what really ingrained me in the Civil War. I watched a ton of history growing up. I remember waiting for the bus, watching Civil War Journal on the History Channel, which used to be a really good series that had kind of documentary maps, sort of 90s style documentaries, which they don't really seem to make those kind of things anymore. And that really is what kind of inspired me to start the Historical Gamer channel. Now that we're at like 4 in the morning, or 3 in the morning, I might as well just kind of ramble at this point, since you guys are bearing with me at this point as I kind of try and conquer Spain. Why are the Italians the only one doing this, by the way? I just want to point that out. Why are my 3 divisions? Look, the South hasn't changed at all. Meanwhile, my 3 divisions are championing, up north. But now that it's like 3 in the morning, you guys are still sticking with me, which I really appreciate. I think it's sad that they don't kind of make those kind of documentaries like they used to anymore. It kind of it bothers me a little bit. And again, it was just one of those things. Like, I was waiting for the bus growing up in high school, and I just remember watching these kind of documentaries on the American Civil War. This was before I wrote, not high school, but like middle school even. And this is before I read Shelby Foote. And I remember these old school documentaries. The History Channel used to be the Nazi channel, but really at the same time, it was also a channel which had some really good documentaries about the Civil War. And then I remember watching Gettysburg time and time again and kind of idealizing Longstreet until, I learned a little bit more. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, he was a good commander, but certainly wasn't perfect. And, read a little bit more. And my senior thesis in high school was actually on the American Civil War. It was on General Longstreet and kind of how he was vilified by the South, in large part unfairly, although he certainly wasn't perfect. And then my senior thesis in college, I was a history major in college, was actually on Germans in the American Civil War. I focused on kind of the post-Chancellorsville reaction to the German community being basically scapegoated at Chancellorsville and Gettysburg as well on day one. So I would certainly say I know the most about the Civil War. But I'm fascinated by Byzantine history as well. And I'm also fascinated by, I know a lot about World War II also. I think that's an easy war to know a lot about. A lot of people know a lot about World War II. But I hesitate to say favorite, because even parts of the Roman history interested me. I remember, was it freshman year in college? I was like, all right, I've read Shelby Foote. He's kind of classic of the American Civil War. What other classics should I read? And I read Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall, which has a myriad of problems as far as being taken seriously as a work of history, but is still a very fantastically written book. I have not seen the BME Pain Olympics. I don't know what that is. Sorry for the rambling, guys. It's like 4 in the morning where I am now, and I've been streaming for over 2.5 hours at this point. So I'm just kind of playing through this, and again, I'm anything but an expert streamer, so feel free to tell me I'm an idiot at this point. Are we done in the South yet? Literally, they haven't moved. They haven't moved at all. Meanwhile, the Italians in the north are doing everything. Let's beat the Spanish single-handedly. Oh, they just got beaten, I think, and driven back. Or no, we just reformed to cover our front line that I built. All right, so let's shore up our front line a bit and build a new one. So front line, why does it just automatically do that when you right click? I don't want that whole thing to be my front line. Or left click, sorry. There we go. And there. I'm going to try and cut Barcelona off. Now, the silly thing is, it seems like a lot of war games, when you cut a city off, if it's like a major production center, but like, oh yeah, they're fine. I remember, was it the Great Commander of the Great War works that way, where it's like, cities operate as their own base of supply, which I guess from a building a game standpoint, you kind of have to do that to some extent. It's got to generate from somewhere. And games are kind of the art of limitations, but still, it's kind of annoying when that happens. Free factories, nothing I want to build right now. Launch another limited offensive. Feels like World War I. Things are just dragging. Oh, wait. These guys, I need to tell them to actually do something, right? Go! Oh, so in doing that attack, you're going to attack Barcelona directly? Okay, fine, if you can take it. That's the capital of the Republic, by the way. Go, Italy. Go, go, go. Wow. We're fighting troops that are way superior, at least in terms of the size of their forces, than we are, and we're doing pretty well. Maybe some of that research is paying off here at this point. It looks like we took Barcelona. Oh, yeah! The Treaty of Valencia. Nationalist Spain took 7 states. Republic Spain was annexed, and 4,644 equipment have been seized. I don't know whose equipment. Where are our troops? Where'd they go? Are they back home already? Where the hell are they? The end of the Spanish Civil War. With the surrender of the last Republican strongholds, the Spanish Civil War has come to an end. The Nationalists stand victorious, and a new era has begun for Spain. The war-torn country has suffered greatly in the fighting, and there is much rebuilding to be done. An interesting development indeed. The Italians played center stage, I must say. Did our troops disappear? Volunteer forces and transfer, sending 3 divisions back to Italy. So they'll arrive in 13 days. Cool. So I can use those guys and that commander, for what it's worth, in my eventual assault on Yugoslavia, which is my next target now that we've successfully aided the nationalists in Spain. And if I might say so, we really won that war for them with 3 divisions, which is pathetic, and the Nazis didn't do anything. It was all us. It was just us. So the history books are different there. And now we're preparing for war against Yugoslavia. It looks like they've shifted maybe some troops to deal with the fact that we've got a ton of troops on their border. They've got 6 divisions on ours. I don't think the French are going to do anything. Democracies aren't going to attack us. Swiss aren't going to attack anyone. And the Germans are our friends, right? Yes, I think. Or wait, no, that's Austria. Austria's not going to attack anyone, so we're fine. So our borders are secure. We've got a narrow front that we can advance down, and hopefully we can overwhelm the Yugoslavians relatively quickly. Now, you will notice that the Nationals' victory in Spain has pretty sharply shot the world tensions up. 18%. It was basically at 0, and now it's all the way up at 18%. So that's something we got to be mindful of if we go and try and annex Yugoslavia. But that's my next goal is annexing Yugoslavia. They got a pretty narrow front to advance down, which is bad in that it makes us kind of like people walking down a narrow hallway with a machine gun on the other end. But at the same time, it's good in that we don't have to worry about having too great a concentration of forces to protect our flank. So that's where we're at. Yeah, they do some. One of the things I don't really like with the History Channel, Leonardo, is in their more modern stuff. I think they try and be a little too interactive. I think there's something to, talking and maps and diagrams and things like that. I think they try to be a little bit too realistic, and when they do that, what it does is it hamstrings you because you're never going to be able to show 40,000 soldiers fighting in a Roman battle or in a Civil War battle. So even if you have a few reenactors and clever camera angles, it always looks like it's just, I don't know, like it was lazily done. I'm going to, I think, stay up for another 30, 40 minutes and maybe attempt to attack Yugoslavia, but I need to step aside for literally just like a minute, so I'm going to pause the game here, and then I'll be right back. If you guys want to stick around for another, I don't know, minute or two, I'll be right back. All right, folks, I'm back. Just had to make myself look like more of an alcoholic and pour another glass of wine. Um, okay, so I don't know if you can blockade a country. I'm just kind of trying to think what we would do to Yugoslavia. Obviously, if we could blockade them easily, that would be kind of my choice. But I don't know if you can blockade them. Does anybody know? Can you blockade countries in this? Or is it just assumed if you have superior naval forces that you'll somehow blockade an enemy? All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll unpause here. We're going to fast forward to September 17th when our troops get back. Actually, we'll pause here. Improved machines, so we need new research. So, yay, machines. It's not 1939 yet, so we can't do that. Construction speed is increased. I don't really care about that. Maybe I should. Probably should go down the air doctrine. Well, the interesting thing is doctrine doesn't seem to have any kind of time frame in terms of like dates that you have to do things by. Lee, I happen to be 29 years old. So I don't know why you wanted to know how old I am, but that's how old I am. I'm 29. Still have those garrison troops. We probably don't need 9 divisions in Ethiopia. Probably split off a few. Let's take that cavalry division. That's what we're going to do. You're going to click. Are you sure you want to unassign? Go here. Oh, shit. I got to move you to a port province. So we'll pull the mountain and the horse troops out of Ethiopia. If I can navigate my mouse down there. And unassign these guys. Where are the mountain troops? I want to assign them to. So we're going to pull the mountain troops and the cavalry out of Ethiopia. We're going to move them back to Italy because those are going to be the most useful troops in our eventual attack. The volunteer forces are in transfer. They'll be back in 2 days. And then we'll have our victorious commander there be the leader of the invasion of Yugoslavia as well. I don't envision anything happening until January. Volunteer forces have been fighting in national Spain, have returned in Latium. Where is that again? Oh. Let's move them into Rome. We'll give them a hero's welcome. They can march through the streets. I know it doesn't really do anything, but I just feel like it would be kind of cool if they were given a hero's welcome back from Spain because they really, they conquered Barcelona all by themselves. And they're veterans, too. These are very good troops now. They've attained veteran status, at least the mountain troops have. What would help my infrastructure? Or would you just suggest I improve my infrastructure? Because I can do that. I can improve infrastructure. Let's go ahead and do it. There. Is that all my factories used up? Yeah. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll improve infrastructure. Military factories. Let's see. I'm going to increase production of artillery a little bit. And then I'm also going to increase production of light tanks a little bit. And I think that'll max us out. Yep, maxed out all around. Okay. So you guys got to have your little victory parade in Rome, and, you march through the Colosseum or whatever. Let's move you guys back. I'm sure some of these territories are got to be close to their maximum capacity. If a war breaks out with all these troops in this narrow of an area, infrastructure is important, as someone mentioned, because it influences the maximum, basically the stack limit within a given hex. Japan declared war on Shaanxi, which is I believe, a warlord kingdom kind of area in China. So China is kind of broken up into multiple warlords, but then they also have declared war on China. So they've got kind of the main part of China, but then they also have individual kind of kingdoms or fiefdoms under individual warlords. So it's kind of fragmented. You can see machine computing is completed. We're not to 1938 yet, so we can't really research. I mean, we could, but I'm not going to research this stuff ahead of time, because it's going to be inefficient to do so. So naval doctrine, let's advance down those lines. We're in the fleet and being status. We can do convoy sailing. We can do submarine operations. We can do battle fleet. Let's do battle fleet concentration. I'm really a capital ship guy. I like battleships, so we'll do that. Meanwhile, these guys are still heading north. They're almost there. Almost. All right, you're both there. Cool. So you two are going to go to Italy. Again, you are some good troops that we can use. They'll be going here. Okay. So, yeah. And again, one of the reasons we want to conquer Yugoslavia is because the Western Allies turned their back on us. We had hundreds of thousands of Italian soldiers fight and die during World War I, and all we asked was for the Dalmatian coast and parts of Yugoslavia. And you know what? They did nothing. When it came to the Treaty of Versailles, those people stabbed us in the back. Therefore, we are going to go and take Yugoslavia and begin the reconquest of the Roman Empire. Even though they wouldn't help us, even though they turned their backs on us, Italy is too strong not to do it by itself. And we're researching Italian highways. That'll help with infrastructure as well. I think my target start date for the war is probably January 1st of 38. That would be kind of my high-level guess. Whoa! The Japanese actions in the Pacific have increased the world tension levels quite substantially. So again, even though Italy hasn't done a ton, we fought in the conflict against Spain, and we fought in the conflict in Ethiopia. Even though Italy hasn't done a ton, the world is rapidly becoming a more and more dangerous place because of Japanese actions, and frankly, at the time period we're in, soon it's going to be German actions that are going to be speeding up the increased tensions in the world. So hopefully we can get to Yugoslavia before things get too bad and democracies start questioning. I'm hoping the fact that Yugoslavia is a fascist country, however, will help minimize any PR concerns as we move in. The game is not turn-based. Darren, it's real time. You can accelerate or slow things down, but there's no formal turn per se. Lex Karate Researching Field Hospital. Signal Company. Good. Okay, so radios should be handy too. So anyway, we're going to fast forward here, I would say toward January 1st. Well, actually, no. We'll do November 25th, then I'll start planning my campaign. Or wait, shit. I forgot. Okay, when you go to war against a country, you kind of need to have a reason. Apparently, you need to have a reason. Interesting that Belgrade is claimed by... Oh, Serbia, never mind. So Serbia claims parts of... Okay, we're going to go to the diplomacy screen. You can see here the ruler of Yugoslavia is Prince Paul. And it's a non-aligned country. Next election, 1938. Apparently they don't have a faction, so they're not a fascist country. Regency Council is the largest part of the country. Yeah, I thought they were a fascist country, but I guess not. Anyway, so we need to justify a war against them. So our goal is to conquer everything, which Holy shit, if we want to conquer everything, that's going to take... we can't even do everything. Ugh. Okay, so maybe we can't conquer everything in one fell swoop, I guess. Let's see. So we definitely want Dalmatia. We may already have a claim against Dalmatia. I feel like we should. And Slovenia, obviously because they border us. So Dalmatia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia. Those are the areas I think we should claim. So Dalmatia, which we really should already have a claim against. Bosnia, oh my god, this is going to take a year to justify. And Croatia. Those are the territories, I guess. Montenegro too, because it borders Albania, which we I think have a protectorate over or something like that. So yeah, there you go. You can see the world is tensions have gone up as we've put our justifications for war out there, and now it's going to take for freaking ever for our justification to go through. It's going to take till September, almost a full year, for that to go through. Meanwhile, I don't have a lot I really feel like doing. I guess I can appoint a new advisor or something. Not really researching military equipment right now. Chief of the Army. I feel like increasing army morale is important in Italy. That was something that the Italian military struggled with a lot. Defense, division speed, morale. Morale to me is the most important. So we'll do that. And we finished our national focus of modernizing the army, as well as Italian highways. So we can prospect for oil, I guess. You know, the national focus is industrial shouldn't be so easy to progress down. They should really, I think that's something that should be balanced, because it seems like it shouldn't take 70 days halfway down the chain. You know, that's something that should change as you get further. So we're about a year ahead of time on the rest of these research categories, with the exception of that. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to have to fast forward a bit, because I can't go to war just for the hell of going to war. Apparently with Yugoslavia, we've got to justify our war, which is stupid. We're going to add all of these guys to this division. He's now over stacked, so we're going to go ahead and promote our successful leader to Field Marshal, and he will lose one trait, his only trait, as well as one skill. However, he's still by far our best general. And he can command our entire force now. Cool. So as we're justifying this war, can we set a front line? Looks like we can. Okay. And can we send an objective? Looks like we can. Okay. So we can assign 37 divisions and one army to advance down the length of Yugoslavia and try and take Belgrade, which is the capital of Yugoslavia. It leaves about half the country, but again, I think if we get that far, we'll accomplish our objectives and be able to take the city. Now, or not the city, the country. I obviously can't go to war quite yet, because we're still justifying our war goals. However, in the meantime, I can ensure that the plan is completely vetted and well thought out, and I guess that's all that really matters. So the plan will be ready to go literally the day that our war goals are accomplished. Wow! World news: the Anschluss of Austria. After a successful coup d'etat by the local Nazi party in Vienna, German troops have crossed the Austrian border and taken control of the country. No fighting has been reported, and the German soldiers were greeted by cheering crowds in the cities. In a speech before a massive crowd at the Heidenplatz in Vienna, Hitler announced the Anschluss of Austria, annexing the country into Germany. The oldest eastern province of Germany shall be, from this point on, the newest bastion of the German Reich. I think that's a statement or a question. We must secure our northern borders. So Germany is now on our northern border. The fall of Nanjing. The capital of the Republic of China, Nanjing, has been occupied by forces from the Empire of Japan. Despite fierce resistance from the walled cities, Chinese defenders, Japanese troops managed to capture Zhangzhou Gate and fought their way into the city. Sporadic gunfire can still be heard, and several fires are raging in different parts of the city, but most surviving Chinese forces have either withdrawn or been captured. Along with the capture of Shanghai, this is a significant victory for the Japanese in their war against China. Significant development. We must rally behind the cause. Benito Mussolini questions Yugoslavian sovereignty. Listening to Benito Mussolini's recent speeches, an invasion of Yugoslavia appears imminent. Dissenting voices have objected, but public support for the war is on the rise. Okay, so I am giving speeches to encourage us to go to war with Yugoslavia. Sounds cool. You know, it's hard for me to say what the difference is between this and Hearts of Iron 3, to be honest, because I am not an expert in Hearts of Iron 3. I did not play it much. I will say this game does seem really easy to pick up and play. So as far as my impression is that this is a really interesting and really good quality game. I think things are probably more streamlined than they were in Hearts of Iron 3. I haven't played it a ton, though, so it's hard for me to really say. Yawn. Okay, so let's kind of fast forward a bit. Yeah, I will say it doesn't seem like there's a ton of headquartering, which is nice. One last thing to kind of micromanage, if you will. Select national focus. Prospecting for oil, we did that, so we can either do Libyan infrastructure and increase the infrastructure in Libya, or we can do Libyan refineries, which will add for production of petroleum in Benghazi. It'll also allow 2 synthetic refineries if we develop that. So let's go ahead and claim Yugoslavia. I don't know if that will allow us to conquer them without waiting for our war goals to be obtained. That may be annoying if I increased world tensions a lot. The future belongs to Italy. So hopefully, maybe we can invade much sooner, would be my hope. Research completed. Direct ground support. We can either do Fighter Ace Initiative, which increases ace generation chance, basically fighters, or formation fighting. And even though they're mutually exclusive, they both link up back down here in the very next one, under Hunt and Destroy. So do we want basically individual fighters who are great, or do we want formation flying? Air superiority mission, plus 15%. Ace generation. I think I'd go with air superiority mission. You're a team, guys. Play like a team. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Recon company complete. So it looks like all of our research along these lines are good until 1939, which we're not there yet. I guess I'll research the next Italian light tank. I don't really like it, but I do think we need to make sure we've got a good armor force, so... Battle fleet concentration is done. That's naval doctrine. Subsidiary carrier role. We don't have carriers. I guess the next thing, why don't we research that hypothetical Japanese battleship? That'd be so awesome to have one of those. I mean, it's not Japanese, but it basically says this is as good as the Yamato, so let's do that. Fuck yeah. And now we're just kind of waiting for our justification for war with Yugoslavia so we can invade. Yeah, the national focus is interesting. I just think they need to do a better job of scaling things. Industry is way, and I haven't really dramatically benefited from it yet, but in my opinion, industry is way too easy to just kind of jack up and have. I mean, I'm in 1938 and I'm almost entirely down that entire national focus side. And while I think it should be possible to accelerate one side and kind of do that at the expense of others, it just seems there should be some level of scaling in there. Maybe you don't start at 70 days. Maybe it's something that you scale down. I'm not sure, but somehow you need to factor that in. Still can't declare war. Be interesting to see if anyone sends freedom fighters against us in Yugoslavia. Claims on Yugoslavia completed. Does that mean we can go to war? Does that mean we can go to war? No, I still can't go to war. Well, what's the point of that then? Need a new national focus. Befriend Bulgaria. At peace with Bulgaria. Cancel pre-war because they're not mad. So Bulgaria becomes our friend. Albanian occupation? Okay, let's do that. Because I do want to occupy Albania. And if we get that as an option later, then that's worth it. Whoops. Goodness, all this research is getting completed at the same time. So Signal Corps is done, but again, we don't really have anything else we can research quite yet. So we'll go back to industry, and that's still behind. It's 1938, so we can do decimeter rating. So we can better rate our stations. Cool. And go. I want to go to war with Yugoslavia. Thanks, Rob. Glad you enjoyed the stream. Feel free to check. I'll probably post the whole thing in its entertaining glory on my YouTube channel. I may slice it up a bit, but thanks for showing up, and feel free to drop by again. Let me know, you guys, if this is something you want me to do again. I'm probably nearing the end of the stream, to be honest. It probably won't go too much longer, given it's almost 4 o'clock here. But let me know if you guys enjoyed this and you want to see something like this again. Okay. Still September 11th. Lovely. Come on. Time go faster. I wish I could just hit a fast forward button and be like, we're there. Let's go to war. Manchukuo has capitulated. Uncertain times, indeed. Chiang Kai-shek has announced that the cowardly Menjing nation could no longer withstand pressure from the overwhelming presence of Chinese forces throughout the country. The Menjing government chose to flee the country and has gone into exile. Their main forces have capitulated, and China is now in control of their home area. Though the war continues elsewhere, this is a great victory for China. So basically, nationalist China is gaining strength, which I'm sure will piss off Japan, who wants China to be weak and divided so they can conquer all of it. We befriended Yugoslavia. Hurrah. Or befriended Bulgaria. We could do Albanian occupation. Albania paints an easy target for our troops to occupy. We are unlikely to be met with much resistance. We must show the world the might of Italy and restore the glory of the Roman Empire. Indeed. But not right now. Let's do Pact of Steel. So I think that makes us allies with Germany or become much closer with Germany, so that's good. Especially since it's about to, things are about to get bad, and I don't want Germany bordering me and being all like, we're going to invade you. All right, guys, thanks for showing up. I know some of you have to leave now. It's getting kind of late. Ooh. Non-aggression pact request from Bulgaria. Sure. Why not? Aviation planes in reserve. Modifying government free civilians. Factories. It's almost time for war. Just a few minutes. A few more minutes, and then we will be invading Yugoslavia if everything goes well. September 11th is almost here. Why aren't German troops on our border? The Munich Agreement. No war this year, then. France and Britain announce alliance. So Czechoslovakia, Munich deal all just went down. Now they're blasting through this time frame and racing toward war. Okay. War justification is completed. So we're going to go ahead and declare war then. Declare war. Conquer. Italy has declared war on Yugoslavia. It's war, folks. And go. All right, folks. So we are at war with Yugoslavia. We're advancing along our front with 37 divisions. Hopefully that's sufficient to deal with the division assignments. Actually, no, we have 43 divisions in the attack, so should make things more favorable for us as we attack south through the mountains. I'm just going to kind of fast forward through this. As long as we see these green little icons here, it means we're in the process of winning battles against them. Although it does, we are finishing some research. Interestingly, it looks like the claims on Yugoslavia had a bigger world tension hit than the actual attack. You can see the world is starting to start on fire, though. Let's see here. We'll go back to research. We finished a few things we want to keep on keeping on. And land doctrine, keep on researching down that path. Having that chief of staff in the military promoting that's actually really helping us. Send volunteers. German Reich wants to send 6 divisions and volunteers. Sure, feel free to send us divisions. I'm happy with that. Pact of Steel completed. Invite faction. Wants to join their faction. Access. No, not right now. Wants us to sign a non-aggression pact. Sure. I'll do a non-aggression pact, but I don't want to be a pawn of the Nazis yet. Not yet. I don't ever want to be a pawn of the Nazis, but, we'll say yet for now. Don't make me choose. Enemy has air superiority. What? Oh, I don't think I gave my air forces any orders, did I? Yeah, I didn't give them any orders. Oops. So your orders. Everyone needs air superiority. Those are your orders. Go. Got a whole bunch of things here. It's like, oh, I can research more and more and more. That can't be done yet. That can't be done yet. And I could not done yet either. Research. Okay, let's see how we do. Let's go fast forward. Who dares wins. Ace pilot promoted. 6 diversions have arrived. More and more research all completing at the same time. Computing machine. So our battleship research completed. That's cool. Come on, guys. Drive those guys back. What? Oh, those are Nazis. These guys are taking a while. I mean, I guess maybe not. We started in September. This battle seems to be going slow. Looks like it's going to take a month. Go Italy, go. I'm thinking of like a Go Speed Racer song, but talking about the Italy. I'm thinking about a Speed Racer song, but talking about like the Italy advance down the Balkan coast. Research. We are slowly advancing south. It does look like we're losing in some of these fights, but for the most part, we're advancing south. So we've advanced a bit, and now it looks like our advance is somewhat stalled. Losing here, winning here. We kind of formed our own salient, which is going to make things more difficult. But we're slowly eliminating that. So we're still having some success on the north, but here on the southern front or western front, we're struggling a little bit more as we advance down the northern half of our line. Our strength is rapidly declining. The enemy is stronger at this point. Hunt and destroy. I'm going to add these 2 divisions to the command. And bye-bye Czechoslovakia. All right, 2 more divisions just flowed in. Saying we're substantially weaker than the enemy now. We're losing all along this corner of the line. We've driven quite a bit down the length of Yugoslavia, but now it looks like they're more or less counterattacking and largely being successful. Although we're still having isolated success, it looks like. Again, it seems to be the north and the east where we're successful, and on the south we're failing. Now, I don't know if they're driving us back. It doesn't really look like they're pushing us back at all, really. But in this northern corner, at least, our attacks are failing. As we try and move on Belgrade. Come on, guys, you can do it. You're much weaker than ours. You would think that this advance would have cost the enemy dearly and that they would be not in great shape. Looks like we've lost 215,000 casualties. They've lost 143,000. They're 46% toward capitulation. We're not at all toward capitulation. We've got more divisions, but our troops must be worn out. Yeah, we're not really having any success anywhere. Probably should move air support closer to the front. That's a good point. I just don't see any air bases that we've taken. Where can we move? Maybe here. Germany declared war on Poland. World War I has begun. That's still kind of far from the front lines, but I don't see any other air bases that we've taken over. I'm just kind of blasting through, guys. At this point, the stream's probably over shortly, but trying to see if, maybe we can take it. Actually, we're in the process of... Where's Belgrade? We've got to be really close. Oh, yeah, we took Belgrade. Sweet. Where are we at with the war now? They are almost surrendering. Almost. So, Western Balkans, the enemy has air superiority over. We just need to win one or two more little battles here and there, and maybe we can convince the enemy to surrender. It looks like they're launching an offensive against our northern flank, though. %94 toward capitulation. They're slowly pushing us back. Come on! I think this war with Yugoslavia has been going on for like a year. So, did we lose Belgrade again? Or do we still have it? Oh, we never had it, actually, it looks like. Or no, we did. They moved the capital back again, though. Yeah, we're fucked. Anyway, I raced into that fight. Why are you guys doing nothing? What are you doing up there? Well, that's like 8 divisions that can come help. What the hell were they all doing? Okay, well, maybe that'll change things a bit as I bring like 10 divisions down that were just sitting there doing nothing. Okay, Poland surrendered. Yeah, okay, I'm glad I could bring those 10 divisions that were just kind of twiddling their thumbs up in the north. And that rapidly changed things. These like partisans? What the hell are these guys doing? I'm going too fast. I don't know what I just did. I probably just messed up. My general's like, what the fuck do you mean? Because now, literally, they're about to cut us off. Cool. Can I just literally... I wish I could just hit like a fast forward button and see what happens. I know, guys, I should be paying more attention. But at this point, it's 4:10 a.m. and I'm just trying to finish this fucking war. Now that all our troops are cut off by... Like, where the hell these guys come from? Surrender, damn you, surrender. This my guys are all cut off. Oh, I need to rebound. Oh, wow, the world is in flames. 100%. The largest world tension has been generated by Germany, 67%. No one cares about us right now. That's cool. Low manpower. Oh, we've been blazing through our manpower. Wow. Latvia joins the Axis. Overrun. I think our troops all just died. Everyone's dead. We lost like our whole military. We lost 26 divisions. Well, that was fun. So, and Moscow broke the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. So history's really unfolding very differently. And you guys, this stream, I'm sorry, it devolved. There's no point in this anymore. I'll probably do another stream another time, and give a better effort and not play till 4 in the morning and give up and just kind of throw away Italy because now we're going to get conquered by Yugoslavia or something. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the stream. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you'd like to see me do something else. But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out. Gibraltar Falls. Wow, history's just going out the drain. Quit.